Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Neglected Naruto sacrificed himself for his family and chosen by Morphing Grid. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. And for more exclusive and spicy content, follow me on Patreon. Link is in the description below. And now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was simply fleeing because he was afraid for his life. He was running, but why? For what reason did he fear death? Because Naruto was a little different from other kids. He was the son of Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, the head of the Uzumaki clan, Yellow Flash Minato Namikaze, Red Hot-Blooded Habareno, and the fourth Hokage, head of the Namikaze clan. In addition, he was the nine-tailed fox's soul's Jinchuriki. You see, Naruto and his twin siblings, Natsumi and Menma, were born on the night of the nine-tailed fox, October 10th, 6 years ago. The triplets' mother, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, was the human vessel, container of the nine-tailed fox, the most formidable of all tailed creatures, and she had recently given birth to her three offspring on the night of their birth, a man in a mask with a Sharingan or the copy wheel eye, posing as the notorious Madara Uchiha, attacked them and nearly killed Kushina by separating the fox from her. As you can see, a tailed beast dies nearly immediately after being separated from its host. The Nine Tails was taken over by the masked Madara, who was shocked to find that she had survived the extraction. He gave the fox instructions to kill Kushina, but her husband and the father of her children, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage and the Yellow Flash of the Hidden Leaf Village, saved her. He had arrived just before his wife and their three newborn children were flashed to a safe house and stroked by the fox before grabbing his cloak and flashing to the battlefield. He laid her down on a bed with her infants after calling forth the fox. The masked man began demolishing the village. Minato had the Hokage monument on top of it. When the Nine Tails spotted him, they shot Minato with a large-tailed beast bomb made completely of chakra. Minato teleported the enormous ball of chakra out of the village using his tri-plunged kunai, which was sealed with his unique Flying Thunder God seal. The masked man's mask and eye sucked him into a vortex just as he was ready to fight the giant fox, but he managed to break free with his trademark jutsu, the Flying Thunder God. The masked man was shocked to be able to break free from his jutsu, and before he realized what had happened, he was struck in the back by a Rasengan or spiraling sphere. The Rasengan's impact pierced the ground on which they were standing, shattering the Nine Tails' mind-controlling genjutsu. It then sealed him, preventing him from ever controlling the Nine Tails again. Before Minato could capture him, the masked man swore he would return and vanished in a swollen vortex that emerged from his Sharingan. His ninjas, third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi and his summoned partner Monkey King Enma, noticed that the giant fox was still going on a rampage and attempted to contain it. In order to assist him in this conflict, Minato promptly called upon Chief Toad Gamabunta. Minato may have gathered all of his chakra and teleported the tailed beast to the village's outskirts because he thought the battle between the two would do more harm to the village. Then he flashed to the battle site with his wife and three kids, where the giant fox was. To prevent anyone from interfering, Minato used a barrier seal jutsu around them and the fox. Minato began making a number of hand gestures. Kushina saw them coming and attempted to stop them, but it was too late. Minato had used the Reaper Death Seal, a dangerously potent seal that seals anything and or anyone's soul into the user at the expense of the user's own soul, to call forth the god of death, the Shimigami. The Nine Tails were then divided into three groups by Minato. The soul becomes Naruto, the Yang chakra becomes Menma, and the Yin chakra becomes Natsumi. For some reason, Minato's life was spared after the sealing. He was given the opportunity to raise his children with his wife and become a father, but he was prepared to give his life for his family and village. What happened to the nine-tailed fox was a question that the villagers, council members, advisors, and clan leaders were requesting. When Minato described how they were attacked, the fox was sealed into his three children, and his fight with Madara Uchiha, which essentially stunned everyone before any threats could materialize. Minato clarified that the seal he had used was created by the Shimigami himself, preventing the fox from escaping at the expense of the user's very soul. The fact that their Hokage had lived through a confrontation with the Shimigami shocked the residents of the Leaf Village. As the villagers celebrated the beloved Hokage's successful escape from death, Minato's pride and ego exploded. The real heroes who vanquished the nine-tailed fox were then declared by Minato. He tells them that Naruto held the fox's soul, while Natsumi and Menma held the chakra. They openly praised Natsumi and Menma as the heroes who saved their village, but they secretly plotted to kill Naruto because they believed he was the demon fox himself. Naruto's life has been nothing but neglect and hatred ever since that faith day. He was left behind when his parents decided to train his siblings by the time he was 3. They either punish him for something he didn't do or essentially ignore him, his cries, and his pleas. Ironically, given that he was born on the same day as his siblings, they would ignore him on his birthday and during Christmas parties, family get-togethers, and vacations. His life was made miserable by his siblings, who would taunt, hurt, and even insult him. Even his own godparents told him that they didn't think he was worth training. Every day, when he is by himself, the villagers, a few Jonin, Shunins, and a few Anbu would glare at him with hatred, attack him, and beat him to death. He would scream for assistance from his mother, father, or anybody else, but nobody ever showed up. Even his own clansmen would treat him badly, glare at him, and make offensive remarks behind his back according to customs and laws. The eldest child is designated as the clan heir, so he was the heir of both clans. When his family was out of sight, he would hurl rocks at them or give them a hateful glare, while the villagers, shinobi, and clansmen would always compliment his siblings. There are 293 members in the joint clan known as the Uzumaki Namikaze clan. Following Stone, Cloud, and Mist's attack on the hidden Whirlpool village during the Second Shinobi War, which forced the Uzumaki clan to flee to their sister village, the Hidden Leaf village, and because of their clan heiress, Mito Uzumaki, who was the wife of the first Hokage Hashirama Senju, the head of the Senju clan and a distant relative of the Uzumaki clan, there are currently 149 surviving members. On the other hand, strong elemental users over elemental nature make up the Namikaze. They were originally from Lighting Country, but some 260 years ago, some insignificant events destroyed their homeland, forcing them to relocate and start over in the Land of Fire together with the Senju, Uzumaki, and Uchiha. The Namikaze assist in constructing the leaf-hidden village, the Hyuga, Sarutobi, Yamanaka, Aburame, Akamichi, Inazuka, Nara, and a few hundred civilians joined forces to form a single village. The largest clan in the village at the moment was the Uzumaki Namikaze clan. Despite the fact that the clan is composed of some of the strongest seal masters, the majority of them still think Naruto is just a fox disguised as a human with no real authority. They therefore plan to harm and torment him because they think they are exacting revenge on the demon fox, but in reality, they are blatantly assaulting their Hokage's son. Because of a few individuals who look out for the young blonde, Naruto has not gone insane and committed suicide, despite being subjected to terrible torture by the villagers and his family. Kurama the Nine-Tailed Fox, the Sarutobi clans Hiruzen, Asuma, and Konohamaru Sarutobi, the civilian family Sakura, Mebuki, and Kazashi Haruno, the Uchiha clans Satsuki, Sasuke, Itachi, Makoto, Fugaku, and Shisui Uchiha, Masuko Torabi, his personal physician, and, lastly, Tuchi Ichiraku and his daughter Ayame of the ramen stand. Naruto saw Asuma as an uncle figure and Hiruzen as a grandfather. While returning from a mission one evening around 2 years ago, Asuma saw Naruto attempting to stop someone from fleeing the Uchiha clan compound while carrying a sack. He made the decision to look into it. To his surprise, he swiftly knocked out the aforementioned ninja, who turned out to be one of the Leaf Cloud Peace Treaty's ambassadors. Inside the sack were Satsuki and Sasuke Uchiha, the clan heir and heiress. He asked himself why he was out here in the middle of the night when he saw Naruto. Naruto sensed a familiar chakra presence before he could explain. He turned to Asuma and pleaded with him to keep his presence a secret. Asuma was totally taken aback by this. He doesn't want people to know that the boy was a hero for saving 2 of the heirs of the Uchiha clan. Asuma consented, but insisted that Naruto provide him with the necessary response. After being informed that the ambassadors intended to abduct the heirs of the Hyuga and Uchiha clans in order to use them as breeding grounds for dujutsu, or visual prowess. The following day, Fugaku Uchiha, the head of the Leaf Police Department in the Uchiha clan, became enraged upon learning of Cloud's scheme to use his offspring as breeding stock. The man had to be restrained by 6 Anbu in order to stop him from immediately killing the Cloud ninja. However, this is not the case with the Hyuga clan. It turns out that before the Cloud Jonin could flee with his daughter Hinata, clan head Hiashi Hyuga had already killed him. Even after they reached a consensus, Cloud insisted on seeing the head of Hiashi Hyuga. Following the meeting, Fugaku wanted to thank Asuma for everything he had done for him and his family, but he declined, saying he needed to tell his father about the incident and that they should meet at the Uchiha compound. And what a surprise they were in for. Flashback at the Uchiha clan compound, Hiruzen Sarutobi and the Uchiha family, which included Fugaku, Makoto, Itachi, Sasuke, and Satsuki Uchiha, were anticipating Asuma's arrival. Fugaku was a 29-year-old man with onyx-colored eyes and short, black hair that reached his shoulders. Itachi inherited Fugaku's features, which included noticeable creases beneath his eyes that became more noticeable when he looked stern. He was dressed in a plain kimono and gray pants with the clan's emblem on the back. Makoto was a mother of 29 as well. Her long black hair hung in bangs on either side of her face, roughly framing her black eyes and cheeks, and she had fair skin. She wore a red plum skirt, a light yellow apron that was typically worn over it, and a basic dark purple blouse. Itachi was an 11-year-old boy with jet black hair pulled back with red elastic into a low ponytail that reached his shoulder blades and onyx eyes. Despite the ponytail, he wore blackish-blue pants, a necklace featuring 3 tomos, and a blue t-shirt with a fishnet design by the collarbone. In addition, he had center-parted bangs that reached his chin and framed his face. What set Itachi apart were the prominent, protracted tear troughs beneath his eyes. He was a Uchiha clan prodigy as well. Sasuke is a 4-year-old boy with fair skin, onyx eyes, and black hair that reaches his chin. His hair has bangs and a spiky back. His bangs hung over his eyes when he was a little boy. Sasuke was dressed in traditional Uchiha garb, which included a pair of light brown shorts and a navy gray shirt with a high collar and the Uchiha crest on the back. Satsuki was a 4-year-old girl with fair skin and long black hair that hung in bangs on either side of her face, roughly framing her black eyes and cheeks. She wore a short white skirt and a blue t-shirt with white sleeves that showed off her toned, smooth, milky core halfway down her stomach. Satsuki resembled her mother almost exactly. A 65-year-old man named Hiruzen Sarutobi frequently wore the official uniform, which consists of a haori and a red, full-length kimono tied with a white sash. He was below average in height, light-skinned, and had spiky gray hair. A wart close to his left nostril, a few wrinkles. They saw 2 people enter when they heard the door open. They saw a tall man with a beard, short black spiky hair, and brown eyes. He wore a flak jacket, regular shinobi sandals, a forehead protector, and the standard leaf ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway. In addition, he wore bandages around the arms of his sleeves, a pair of black bangles, and the 12 Guardian Ninja sash with the symbol for fire on it around his waist. Sarutobi Asuma was his name. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage's son. The other was a young boy who was the same age as the twins from Uchiha. He had 3 whiskers on each cheek, sun-kissed tan skin, blue sapphire eyes, and spiky blonde hair. He had on gray pants, an orange jacket, and a red t-shirt. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze was the boy, the 4th Hokage's eldest son, Kushina Uzumaki, the head of the Uzumaki clan and heir to the Namikaze clan, Yellow Flash of the Leaf Minato Namikaze, and Red Hot Habareno. Why the blonde boy was with Asuma was a mystery to everyone in the room. The silence was first broken by Hiruzen knowing exactly who the young boy was. Asuma, may I ask why is young Naruto with you? Asuma then responds, the reason why Naruto is here because last night on my way back home I heard something near the Uchiha compound and decided to take a look. When I got there I witnessed Naruto engage the ninja head on. As he was about to land the finishing blow to Naruto I quickly intervened and knocked him out. Before I knew what was going on I felt Anbu coming towards our direction. Naruto here practically begged me not to tell anyone why he was there, but I thought it's best that you knew because it was your kids who got kidnapped and all. Had it not for Naruto the Cloud Jonin would have gotten away, and that is the reason why I brought Naruto with me to tell everyone here that he was the one who saved the twins and I just knocked him out. To say that everyone in the room was taken aback would be an understatement. They were amazed that Naruto could compete head-to-head with a seasoned Jonin and combat veteran, and that was quite impressive for someone his age. The blonde's accomplishment even shocked Fugaku, but why wouldn't he want people to know about it, and why was he out at such a late hour? Fugaku made the decision to pop the question after Naruto had been thanked by everyone. Naruto. Fugaku Uchiha, head of the Uchiha clan, would like to thanks on behalf of my family and the Uchiha clan in saving my son and daughter from the hidden Cloud Jonin. But may I know why don't you want people to know about your accomplishment in defeating a Jonin and that you were the one who rescued Sasuke and Satsuki, and why we're outside late at that hour? Makoto asked inquisitively but worriedly. Yes, now that you think about it, why you were out at that late hour? Naruto. Tears were streaming down Naruto's cheeks as he looked down, his hair covering his eyes and his hand clenching his heart. The sight of this caused Makoto to pull him into a cozy embrace. Makoto tried to soothe the blonde boy by saying, "Shush Naruto, if you don't want to talk about it then it's okay." "No Mrs. Uchiha, I really need to get off my chest, it hurts so much I can't stand the pain anymore," replied Naruto. The blonde nods and says, "All right then if you are sure." Everyone in the room was shocked to hear, "But you have to not to tell anyone about this, not even my parents." Why did the blonde not want his parents to be aware of this specific issue? However, they would learn after he spoke. "Okay, we promise not say anything unless you allow us to." "Okay," Fugaku replied. The blonde gave him a nod. Naruto started out by outlining the what, how, and why. As the adults know, I'm the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, or to be more precise, the soul of the nine tails. What's a Jinchuriki? Sasuke asked, perplexed. Before he could respond, Naruto beat him to it. A Jinchuriki is a human sacrifice or a container that contains a powerful being or demon from ever escaping. Like the nine tails, for example, it cannot be killed because it is made of living charka, and the only to defeat it is to seal it away into a person. They are called Jinchuriki, people who carry a great yet terrible burden, preventing the tailed beast from ever escaping, keeping us safe from harming us and our village. But most people view us Jinchurikis as the demons themselves, hating us, cursing us, and they pretty much want us dead, replied Naruto. A curious Satsuki asked, wait, you said you contain the soul, what did you mean by that? When my father, the fourth Hokage, sealed the fox inside me and my siblings, he split the fox into three entities. My sister Natsumi contains yin, half of the chakra. My brother Menma contains the yang half, and I contain the soul. My siblings are treated as the heroes while I'm treated as the powerless demon. You wanted to know why I was out so late last night? Everyone gives him a nod. Everyone in the room gasped as he began to take off his shirt and jacket. Well, here is your answer, but be warned, you will not like what you see. Deep scars, burn marks, and a thick layer of bandaging covering his waist, back, and torso were all visible on his entire body. This was from a few moments before Asuma had brought me here. Because I heal very fast, the villagers would gather a mob and continue to beat me up every day, no matter where or when, as long it's not witnessed by any younger generation or the Anbu. But this will all be gone by tonight because it has been like that for as long as I can remember, said Naruto as he put his jacket and shirt on again. How anyone could harm a child like this infuriated Fugaku. It was savage. Itachi and Asuma were equally enraged. Hiruzen was upset and disappointed in the villagers for their actions, unable to bear the boy's condition. Sasuke was vomiting in the restroom. Makoto was sobbing because she couldn't believe that someone would harm such a helpless child, and the person who had prevented her children from being used as progeny for the Hidden Cloud Village, Satsuki, could not bear to watch something so horrible pass out. Fugaku decided that enough was enough because he couldn't stand this kind of thing happening. Naruto shocked everyone in the room as he was about to leave by saying, if you're considering giving Minato and Kushina a piece of your mind, then don't bother. They won't even care if I lived or died. The comment shocked even Satsuki, who had regained consciousness. Itachi became a little irate at the blonde's remark, asking, why would you say that? They're your parents, why do you think they don't care about you? I gave on my 97th time trying to get them to notice me, but the only thing I would receive from them is a slap, some form of punishment, neglect and abuse from them and my own siblings. Even Jiraiya and Tsunade, my own godparents, thought not their time and should end up dead somewhere for being a nuisance. I'm always forgotten about. Even when we share the same birthdays, I'm pretty much left out. The family gatherings, vacations, Christmas and family outings, everything is about them, or Natsumi and Menma to be exact. I always get left behind in the compound all alone with no one to watch over me. I spend most of my time studying seals from the clan library, and I'll be all alone until they come back. Adding to the shock, Hiruzen was now dissatisfied with Naruto's treatment by the family, particularly with regard to his own pupils. To them and my parents I'm nothing more nuisance, an extra baggage that they need to find a way to get rid of. They believe in some stupid prophecy that Natsumi or Menma are the saviors of the world because they have Kurama's chakra. But the worst was that Minato practically allowed the villagers to abuse, as I'm the perfect scapegoat for the job. After several beatings a few months ago, I fell unconscious and landed in my mindscape. It was then and there that Kurama and started my training. I was able to pick up on seals really because all Uzumakis are natural-born seal masters. I then worked on my chakra control by learning from the books and scrolls from my parents' library, including the shadow clones. I was even able to discover my elemental manipulation thanks to Kurama. He has been teaching me how to defend myself along with teaching me some justice that he knows. Right now I'd say I'm low genin in ninjutsu. My elements are wind as my primary and strongest element, water and earth as my secondary element, and lighting and fire as tertiary element. Low genin in taijutsu. My top speed can outrun an ANBU. My stealth surpasses that of Anbu Black Ops. My IQ level is not close to Inara, but it's 189. Genin level in medical ninjutsu. A beginner in kenjutsu. My chakra is high cage level bordering to tailed beast. High chunin in chakra control. An expert trap master and a level 9 seal master. Everything that I've learned, I learned it all on my own. Then Kurama started to help me out and I was able to understand and get even better at learning everything, and with the help of my shadow clones I was able to reach the level I'm currently on right now, said Naruto, getting surprised looks adults who were staring with jaws the earth. The child was a genius. It was unimaginable for anyone to be able to accomplish such a feat in just 4 months. Given his speed and current strength, He was able to defeat a war veteran and Jonin alone. This was especially impressive given his cage-level chakra capacity. Additionally, it was very uncommon to possess all 5 elemental manipulations with the exception of one man, the father of all shinobi, the sage of the 6 paths. Having all elemental manipulations was practically unheard of. Shinobi with 3 elemental manipulations were rare, and those with 4 elements were even rarer. In past 4 months Kurama was the one that has been teaching the proper elemental and chakra control exercises, seeing as that I've improved quite a lot. If I continue at my current level of training I'll be at high Chunin to low Jonin level by 12 months time. Also my sealing abilities have gotten better than before. I made my own sealing tags, storage seals, exploding tags. Barrier seals that allows only those whose chakra has been registered and recognized. It is also undetectable by even the best sensory type ninja and it's impervious to the Sharingan and Byakugan. Elemental seals are that allow a user to summon different elemental manipulation to the battlefield and also allows you to store your elemental chakra like wind, fire, water, earth and lightning. Anti-rape seals for Kunoichi during their missions, anti-pregnancy seals in case of emergencies, gravity seals that don't stunt your growth, chakra-suppressing seals that won't cause damage to the chakra network in the future and resistance seals that won't put any stress or strain on your body, and I conformed it myself. These seals are flawless. I can definitely create several seals that can stop even a tailed beast. I can also create my own arsenal of jutsus and anyone else depending on the person's ninjutsu description, elemental manipulation, range of attacks and the way they wish to use their new jutsus. Either for an offense attack or a defensive shield or as cover in order to escape from enemy ninja attacks. These are some of best work, yet it contains both ninjutsu and seals. Most of them are B to S rank, a few SS rank and several C and D rank according to their specification and elements, said Naruto as took out a scroll and unsealed it. That resolved the issue. Naruto's enormous collection of seals and jutsus astounded everyone. There were nearly 200 scrolls with seals and jutsus. The child in front of them was essentially a god in human form rather than a prodigy. It was unimaginable that so many jutsus, techniques, and seals could be made in such a short period of time, particularly the barrier and anti-rape seals. However, some of them were blank, and people questioned why they had nothing on them. Naruto pulled out a blank tag and said, "You're probably wondering why this is blank, right?" Everyone gave a nod. Itachi approached Naruto and said, "This is something I invented for a one-man use now. Itachi, could you come over here please?" Naruto was told, "Now I want you to pump some chakra into this tag." Itachi followed instructions. A tiny poof of smoke emerged from the tag after he infused it with a small amount of chakra. Storage was written on the tag after the smoke cleared, and a chibi Itachi was making a peace sign at the bottom. Naruto remarked, "Now you're wondering why the tag looks different from before and why does it have Itachi's face on it?" The audience in the room nodded in confusion. "Well, it's because the tag was made for the specific user. I made these tags for the people I trust, which would be all of you." When Itachi added chakra into the tag, it analyzed his chakra signature and facial appearance, allowing the tag to be able to give you and only you access to the storage seal right here in your hand. And no one will be able to steal it from you or use it against you or use it for themselves. It will only respond to you and only you can keep the tag. It's yours from this moment forward. I can give each of you some of the tags and seals as well." Naruto stated that he was even more surprising them. Itachi simply ruffled Naruto's hair while grinning. Itachi praised the blonde boy, saying, "Naruto, you really are the most unpredictable little knucklehead I've ever met." The compliment made Naruto blush with shame. He has never received any compliments, and now he is being shown how proud he is of his work by people he hardly knew. Naruto experienced genuine joy for the first time in his life. Naruto scratched the back of his head and said, "Thanks Itachi." Kurama says, "I'm an unpredictable time bomb at times, just waiting to explode with some sort of new surprise coming out of my sleeves." Asuma was now quite interested in learning more about this Kurama individual. A curious Asuma asked, "Naruto, if I may ask, but who's this Kurama you keep talking about?" He wanted to know who this Kurama was and why he was trying to help Naruto. Even though this Kurama has been very helpful in keeping an eye on Naruto, Asuma wanted to make sure that he didn't have any negative effects on him or use him for his own purposes. Naruto calmly but cheerfully stated, "He's the nine-tailed fox and son of Hagamoro Otsutsuki, the sage of the 6 paths." When Naruto brought up the fox, everyone in the room tensed up. However, when Mikoto heard Naruto mention the 9 tails and that he could communicate with them, she practically lost her temper. "The 9 tails, are you out of your mind? Do you know what happened if you weren't careful?" "Itachi, I don't care if Minato is dealing FOGREIN policy. I want his pompous ass here right now." To stop Itachi from getting his father, Naruto grabbed him by the leg before he could move. "No, Please don't, I don't want to lose the only friend, mentor I have. He's never hurt or tried to manipulate me. Please, I'll be alone again if you take him away from me. Naruto continued, gripping Itachi's leg. The comment stunned everyone. The creature that almost destroyed their village, the nine-tailed fox, was regarded by Naruto as a mentor and friend. Naruto, this is the giant fox that nearly destroyed our village. How can you trust the thing that nearly destroyed your own home? Mikoto demanded. With tears streaming down his cheeks, Naruto expressed his frustration, saying, because he doesn't see me as a monster, he doesn't beat me up, blame me for others' deaths, or make my life a living hell. When I first met him, it was after receiving a brutal beating and had been left for dead in an alleyway. When we first met, he told how he was that because of him my life became living hell, and may also be the cause of my parents ignoring me due to my siblings having his chakra. Every time I'm being beaten up, Kurama would pull me into my mindscape whenever I'm beaten by a mob or captured, tied up to a post and used as a training dummy at the Hyuga estate, or kidnapped and tortured by those weird Anbu. Naruto broke down in tears. The damned Hyugas. Nevertheless, they would use a helpless child as a training dummy in the Hokage's child. An irate Fugaku said, the Hyugas have descended so far that it truly disgusts me that they are not even capable of rational thinking or even thinking like human beings at all. Nearly everyone was thinking the same thing, that the Hyugas have descended to an abhorrent level naturally. Hearing about a child being used as a training dummy would make anyone angry. This kind of thing would only be done by people who enjoy mistreating children. As the former Hokage put it, wait, what weird Anbu? Naruto? The ones with blank masks. Sometimes they would bring me to a warehouse and use me as target practice for their jutsus or other experiments. Then after everything they would throw me to the villagers to continue my beatings. After that they would leave me for dead. The bandages around me are the results from the beatings and torture, said a weeping Naruto. Only one individual would do something like that, muttered an irate Hiruzen. Danzo. Who? Asked a bewildered Sasuke. Danzo Shimura. One of the Hokage's advisors, like Lord Sarutobi here. He was in the running to be the third Hokage. Sadly, after the second chose Lord Sarutobi as the new Hokage, he became a power-hungry war hawk only to seek war, never knowing the true reason for finding peace. He also believes that's all shinobi are nothing more than tools. Once you're broken you are of no use and that missions come first. I would advise that you stay clear of him. He is bad news and would anyone or anything as an advantage to get what he wants, Itachi elaborated. The Anbu that Naruto encountered are part of the Root Foundation, Danzo's personal Anbu forces. They were trained to be the best, and that also means eliminating your emotions. You are not to show your emotions or disobey a direct order, and the mission must be completed no matter what, even if it means killing your own comrade and preventing enemy ninja from getting any information out of you, Hiruzen elaborated. That's completely messed up. Why would anyone do something like that? How can they be so cruel? Satsuki cried. To someone like Danzo, that's how a shinobi should be until the very end. The fact is that you kids are to stay away from him at all costs. I fear that Danzo might try to take advantage of you and force you to join his Root Anbu program. He would even go so far into using something or someone precious against you in order to get to you. We even believe that he has been going behind the village's back, doing illegal things that can end up bringing a war between other nations and our village. Sadly, we have no proof of doing such things, which gives a better reason to stay away from him, Hiruzen replied. There's no way I'll become a Root Anbu or let my comrades die. I will protect this village and the people I care about. Even after what they've done to me or at the cost of my life, I will never turn my back on those who need help or people precious to me, even my family. From this moment forth I pledge to a strong shinobi in order to protect those I care about no matter what, and I never go back on my word. That's my nindo now. Always and forever believe it, said a tenacious Naruto. Everyone inside was shocked by the young blonde's declaration. Despite everything that has happened to him, he still wishes to defend those who have wronged him. It was really amazing. Who exactly was Namikaze? Naruto Uzumaki. The silence was broken first by Itachi. Naruto, even after everything you've been through, you still care about your family and village. What's motivated to go to such heights? Then Naruto said, because I've learned that you should never abandon those who I care about. My family and people who are precious are the ones I want to protect. That's why I want to be strong, and an Uzumaki never abandons blood or their precious people no matter what. Everyone, especially Fugaku and Hiruzen, gazed in wonder and respect at the boy with the blonde hair. He has a lot of potential even at such a young age. Without a doubt, he will outperform some of the greatest shinobi ever. Hiruzen grinned at the eagerness of the blonde boy in front of him and said, Naruto, you really possess the will of fire, and I can tell that it burns brightest within you. Naruto, you'll become a great ninja. Itachi, Asuma thought, you really give a great reason of what it truly means to be a ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village. Kushina Minato, you leave behind your own son, a self-made prodigy who turns to you for prophecy when he needs it. This cannot be forgiven. Don't worry, Naruto. We'll support you no matter what, Makoto said. Kushina and Minato, you two are complete moron. You leave behind the son who, aside from the Nine-Tails, was able to defeat an experienced war veteran without any training or direction and who nearly prevailed due to some pampered brats and a foolish prophecy. Naruto saved my kids from the Cloud Ninja, and for that I am grateful as a debt of appreciation for what Naruto has done. My family and I will train him, Fugaku thought. Surprisingly, everyone turned to Sasuke. Well then, I too want to become strong in order to protect my family and loved ones. Naruto inspired me. To that only by protecting your precious people will become strong, then so be it. I will also protect those precious to me so one can harm them, said a tenacious Sasuke. Then, with resolve in their eyes, everyone turned to face Satsuki. I also want to be strong. Naruto has also inspired me to becoming stronger. I don't want what happened to us and Naruto happening ever again. No one should ever experience what Naruto had to go through ever again. I want to be able to protect my family and precious people as well, Satsuki said with fire in her gaze. You really are the most erratic person I have ever encountered. Naruto, my younger siblings have been motivated by your words and your desire to keep those you love safe. Itachi smiled and thought, you really have the power to change someone's heart. In that case, would the two of you like to be my friends? We could train together and I could also introduce you to my friend. Her name is Sakura Haruno. She has cute pink, beautiful green eyes and an adorable forehead. Naruto blushed as he described the young lady. When Makoto realized this, a grin spread across her face. Makoto practically made fun of the blonde by asking, does Naruto have a crush on this Sakura girl? Naruto had a tomato red face. Naruto gives a cute pout, saying, Mrs. Uchiha. The blonde's antics made everyone laugh. Makoto found it amusing to tease Naruto because of how adorable he appeared when he blushed and pouted. As the two young men in the room laughed a little, Hiruzen said, leave the boy alone. Makoto, I think it's cute that he has a crush on someone, don't you agree, Asuma? Itachi? At this, Makoto simply pouts. She wanted to continue making fun of the little blonde. Asuma gave him some confidence by ruffling the blonde's hair and saying, I think it's normal for kids this age to have a crush on someone. It's practically normal for any boys to have a crush on a cute girl, just make sure you treat them right. A deadpan Itachi, receiving a face flag from everyone, said, I agree as well. It's normal for a child to have a crush developed at a certain age. It's how it was meant to be, not that it wasn't normal or anything. Itachi, no offense, but if you don't get out and socialize more you're going to look and act like a robot. And then girls will think you're just scary cool, Naruto said with a tone of innocence. Makoto attempted, but was unable, to control her laughter. When a 5-year-old told her that her oldest son was an antisocial robot, she practically burst out laughing. Soon after, everyone in the room, with the exception of Naruto, who had no idea what the blonde was saying, was laughing. Why was the room full of laughter? It was nearly accurate. Apart from Shisui Uchiha, Itachi hardly ever interacts with other people. His rival and best friend Itachi blushed in shame and muttered something under his breath about smart-ass blondes and stupid socializing skills comments. Between a few bursts of laughter, Fugaku said, okay, I think that's enough embarrassing Itachi for one day, even if it was completely worth it. A strange new voice said, I couldn't agree more. When Itachi recognized the voice, his eyes widened, and he had only one thought at the moment. Oh fuck. They looked in the voice's direction. Shisui Uchiha, also known as Shisui the Teleporter, was standing by the door, leaning against the wall, his arms folded, and he had a sadistic grin on his face with the words, possible blackmail material, written on it. Itachi and Shisui were of the same age. His dark-colored hair was short and disheveled, his nose was rather wide, and his eyelashes were well-defined and turned upward at both ends. He was dressed in the typical Uchiha clan garb, which consists of a dark-colored, high-collared garment with a tanta fastened to the right side of his shoulder. Additionally, he had on what looked to be a tanta harness that was secured over both shoulders and ran across his chest. A startled Fugaku questioned, Shisui, what are you doing here and how long have you been standing there? Itachi nervously scratched the back of his head and said, I came to get Itachi, seeing that he was late for our training session. With a hint of venom in his voice and his Mangekyo Sharingan or kaleidoscope copy wheel eye flashing with anger, Shisui said, and as for how much I heard was pretty much almost everything, and don't worry Naruto, I won't tell a soul dead or alive, I give you my word as a Uchiha. Naruto simply sighed in relief that Shisui wouldn't tell anyone about this. I just can't believe that the Hokage and his family would neglect their own son to the point of abandonment. It really disgusts me. It's okay Shisui, not like they cared anyway. You guys who I just met aside from Sakura, her parents, big sis Masuko, the Ichirakus and Kurama have showed me how much you care about me. I'm truly grateful for what you're doing for me, replied Naruto. Tears began to fall from Naruto's eyes as he said, it's nothing, Naruto. You're an amazing person with great potential. People like your parents, siblings, and others just don't see it yet. You have the ability to change people for the better, like what you did for Sasuke and Satsuki. You gave them a reason to become strong, a reason to be a great shinobi and kunoichi by protecting those they care about. That Naruto show you have potential greater than anyone I have ever seen, and I can't thank you enough for both saving them and showing them a true reason of becoming a ninja. You will become a powerful shinobi, one that will indeed be respected by your peers and village and feared by your enemies, and I mean what I said. Naruto, you truly are someone special. Just remember, never let others look down upon you or bring you down, okay? Fugaku truly meant what he said. Even Sasuke, who was a little envious of his father's admiration for Naruto, just grinned. Hiruzen surprised everyone, especially Naruto, by saying, Fugaku's right, Naruto, you have the ability to change others' outlook for the better, the same ability that my sensei, the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, once inherited. It was unbelievable to him. With the exception of the wood style, he possessed the same abilities as the first Hokage. Naruto exclaimed, startled, really, Gramps? I have the same ability as the first Hokage. Indeed, Naruto, I can tell that that will of fire burns brightest within you. You have even sparked the will of fire within young Sasuke and Satsuki as well. The fact is that you sound and act like the first. It's almost as he's returned. You are most likely to indeed resemble my sensei and the teaching of the will of fire. It truly is astonishing. Hiruzen continued, surprising everyone even more. A startled Asuma questioned, Dad, are you really claiming that Naruto resembles the first? Hiruzen shocked everyone by saying, yes, Asuma, that is exactly what I'm saying. Naruto's ability to change people's hearts is indeed similar to Hashirama Sensei. This boy right here has already proven that by showing us what it means to be a shinobi and citizen of the Hidden Leaf Village. He has the potential and the will of my sensei. I can see it in his eyes. He will indeed surpass the first in so many ways that I can imagine how great a shinobi he will become. The silence was then broken by Naruto. Gramps, you really think that I resemble the first Hokage? Replied Naruto. Of course I do, my boy. You show how much you care for others and willing to protect them no matter what, even at the cost of your life. That is something my sensei Hashirama Senju had taught me, and I believe that you truly resemble the will of fire that unites our village no matter who or what they are, and I believe in you. I truly do, and I'm willing to lend you any aid I can to help succeed, Hiruzen replied. Lord Hiruzen is right, Naruto. He believes in you, as do I. You have a special gift that no one noticed until now. We have decided to help you as well, not just for saving my children but for opening our eyes to a new light, a light that we believe could outshine any other and bring peace everywhere. Fugaku responded. My father is never wrong when it came to something like this. I never listened until it came back and bit me, but I will make sure that mistake never happens ever again, not just for me but anyone else ever again. If you need any help, I'm more than willing to lend a hand, Asuma reassured the blonde. Asuma, Hiruzen thought as he cast a fresh glance at his son. Naruto, I saw how you were treated. Just by looking at your scars, you saved me and my sister and gave us a reason to be a strong shinobi. I will also want to be strong, so from this day forward you are my friend and rival in becoming a strong shinobi. I will help you if you are willing to teach me a few things, Sasuke said to his new rival and friend. Naruto, I really want to thank you for what you have done for my family. You really are someone special, and like my husband said, don't let anyone berate you or look down upon you. And also, if you need someone or anyone to talk to, we are always here for you, because like you said, Naruto, you consider us as family, so we will be there for you. And also, you don't have to Mr. and Mrs. Uchiha. It makes us sound old. You could always call us Aunt Makoto and Uncle Fugaku, because we consider you as a member of our family. Isn't that right, dear? Makoto said as her husband simply nodded. Tears were streaming down Naruto's cheeks. A great number of people believed in him, accepted him, and trusted that he would be successful in his career as a shinobi in the village hidden in the leaf. He wiped away his tears and wished only that his parents were present to join in his praise. Thank you, all of you, for believing in me and accepting me for me and not viewing me like the villagers do. And Sasuke, I will indeed accept you as my friend and rival from this moment forth, said Naruto with a foxy grin. He then provided them with a few seals and tags to aid in their training and missions, as well as a particular fire-style jutsu to practice. They thanked him and accepted him with pleasure. Then, Naruto put a storage tag-like bracelet on his wrist and sealed everything away. Itachi caught everyone's attention when he said, well then, shall we head to the park to meet your little friend Sakura, Naruto? I know that you are excited in introducing us to her. Naruto exclaimed, that's right, I did say that I would introduce you guys to Sakura, right, so let's go. Everyone simply grinned at the boy with the blonde hair's excitement. And Itachi? Yes, Naruto. Thank you for saving my life a few months ago. If you hadn't shown up that day, I would have been a shuriken test dummy while trying to save Sakura from that attack, and if you hadn't saved us, I never would have met Kurama. Itachi was shocked to learn that Naruto recalled the terrible day he had rescued the blonde from some Chunin fools. Naruto, how do you remember? But Naruto interrupted him. I overheard your conversation that in Kurama showed me of how you beat up those guys and brought me to my personal doctor, seeing that Tsunade never once cared for me when I'm brought to the hospital injured. You're welcome, Naruto. I just couldn't leave you injured when you tried protecting your girlfriend from those thugs. After all, you are a future of this as the rest of the younger generation. Fugaku was shocked. Itachi gave a touching speech and had previously saved Naruto's life. He was pleased with his son since she would never have known what would have happened to Sasuke and Satsuki at this moment. Makoto was even proud that she had saved Naruto from those foolish villagers. Makoto fully pinched Naruto's cheeks and said, "Okay, just be careful now, especially you, Naruto. I don't anything happening to that cute little face of yours, okay?" "Aunt Makoto." Naruto rubs his cheeks and pouts. "Okay, just be careful now." And Naruto, he turned to face Fugaku. Naruto smiled and nodded, saying, "Thank you for the gifts and for inspiring Sasuke and Satsuki." "It's nothing, Uncle Fugaku. It's my way of saying thank you for accepting me and acknowledging me as a part of your family," said Naruto. Fugaku smiled and said, "You're welcome, Naruto, and you're welcome here anytime. Now run along to your little girlfriend. I know you don't want you to keep her waiting now." "Uncle Fugaku, not you too," sighed Naruto. Fugaku laughed and said, "Just get going, Naruto." Itachi said, "Okay, I'll see you soon and thank you again. Come on guys, let's go. Are we excited to see your girlfriend?" "Alright, let's go." Naruto and the others blushed. Hiruzen stood up from the chair and made his way to the door, saying, "Well, I better be off then. I have to watch Konohamaru and see that if he's eager to meet our little blonde prodigy. Who knows, maybe when he drops by one day he might accept him as an older brother." As they walked out of the Uchiha compound, Asuma said to his father, "Who knows, maybe that might just happen, Dad." The flashback, SN Naruto has been treated like a member of the Uchiha and Sarutobi families ever since that day. After Hiruzen introduced Naruto to young Konohamaru, the two became inseparable and became brothers. Sakura and her family, the Harunos, were introduced to the Sarutobi and Uchiha families by Naruto. Sasuke became more protective and competitive, Sakura and Satsuki became friends and surrogate sisters, and Itachi simply tried to be a brother to all four of them. Mebuyuki was acquainted with Hiruzen and Fugaku through the civilian council, and her husband was a local businessman who worked with his wife. They didn't mind at all because they were aware of Naruto's bond with their young Sakura after seeing Naruto protect their daughter from bullies and nearly get hurt by the shuriken they were using on her. They realized Naruto didn't meet Kurama for 2 weeks. Flashback, rosette pink hair with bangs on either side of her head, emerald jade eyes, fair skin, a big forehead, and a ribbon tied to the top of her head characterized this young 4-year-old girl. She wore sandals and a light green dress emblazoned with cherry blossom petals. Sakura Haruno was her name, and she was currently the target of bullying. As she approached, several children noticed her. With a shy voice, she said, "Hello, my name is Sakura. Would you mind if I played with you?" One of the children, Amy, a girl with long purple hair, chose to tease her after noticing her forehead. "Hey, look at her forehead. Yeah, it's so big. What a giant forehead. What a freak. I know, let's call her Forehead Girl and practice our rock throwing on her." "Yeah, Forehead Girl, Forehead Girl." As they hurled rocks at her and called her derogatory names, Sakura began to cry. The situation only got worse. As one of them had suggested, "I know, let's practice our shuriken on her forehead." Now Sakura felt afraid. She was aware of the potential dangers of ninja tools. The boy was about to throw the shuriken when a yellow blur tackled him and punched him in the face. A boy with spiky blonde hair and whiskers, dressed in blue shorts, sandals, and a white t-shirt with a spiral in the center, stood up to defend Sakura. She was saved by a man named Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Sakura blushed as an angry Naruto yelled, "Don't you know it's wrong to bully a cute and defenseless girl? Especially when you're using a weapon like that shuriken to attack someone who can't defend themselves, you cowards." She was simply described as cute by the boy who saved her. The young man stood up and gave Naruto a furious look. He lunged at Naruto, but Naruto blocked and countered by flipping the boy in question and flinging him to the ground, saying, "How dare you attack us? I'll make you pay." 2 boys then charged at Naruto, but Naruto dodged them and punched them in the stomach instead. Then he gave one of them an uppercut and kicked the other. They were both on the floor when Naruto saw that the first had risen and charged at him. He tripped and fell, landing close to an iron pole. Then Naruto focused on Amy. Amy simply nodded and fled, the boys trailing behind, as he approached her and said, "If I ever see bullying anyone ever again, you will end up just like them, understand?" After that, Naruto focused on Sakura, who was still in tears. There was a small cut on her head, and her dress and forehead were covered in dirt and scratches. Naruto cautiously walked up to the girl who was crying. As he began to clean up and wipe away any dirt and wounds, he said, "Are you okay? Those bullies are gone now, they won't hurt you anymore, here let me help you." Sakura asked in fear, "Are you going to make fun of my forehead too?" A curious Naruto questioned, "Why would I make fun of your forehead?" She started crying and said, "Because everyone likes to make fun of it for being. They say I look like a freak with it." Naruto, however, had a different opinion. With a foxy grin, an enthusiastic Naruto said, "But I like your forehead, it makes you look cute." Sakura blushed uncontrollably. Naruto then planted a kiss on her forehead, saying, "In fact your forehead is so cute and charming it makes me want to kiss it every time I see it. As red as a tomato." Sakura was in addition to saving her from those bullies. The blonde gave her a nice kiss on the forehead and called her cute. Sakura was at a loss for what to do. As he helped her up, she turned to face her savior. As he really enjoyed being friends with the adorable pink rosette, Naruto said, "By the way, we never introduced ourselves, did we? I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I'm Sakura Haruno. It's a pleasure to meet you. Would you like to be my friend, Sakura?" She gave him a sweet smile that caused the boy with the blonde hair to blush a little and said, "Yes, I would very much like to be your friend, Naruto." The rosette questioned, Naruto, are you the son of the fourth Hokage?" Naruto gave her a foxy grin and scratched the back of his head in response. "Yes, Sakura, I am the son of the fourth Hokage, but that doesn't mean I want to be treated differently. I'm still me no matter what." Sakura gave a sympathetic nod. Sakura and Naruto have been close friends ever since that day. They would play in the neighboring forest or at the park. Sakura was informed by Naruto that he possesses the Nine-Tails soul. Naruto was taken aback when Sakura embraced him and assured him that he was neither a fox nor a monster. He was Naruto. She loved Naruto just as much as she loved him as a friend. He muttered, "Thank you," and the two quickly became friends and began to feel something for one another. One day, Sakura took Naruto to her home and presented him to her parents. Sakura's introduction of her new friend initially caught them off guard. They were worried about their daughter's safety because they knew Naruto held the nine-tailed fox's soul. Sakura described how Naruto had protected her from being a shuriken target and bullies. They were shocked to learn that the blonde had saved their daughter's life, was something they had never imagined, especially for Sakura. Sakura's father, Kazashi, thanked him for protecting and saving his daughter. According to the description, Kazashi is a gentle man with blue eyes and dull pink hair that has been styled into a cherry blossom. He has a little stubble on his chin and sideburns that flow into his sharp mustache. He is dressed in a loose-fitting, dark kimono shirt with sleeves that go past the kimono shirt and a green inner lining. He wears a simple obi, burgundy-colored A3/4 length pants, and basic slippers to keep this closed. He also sports a plain silver necklace with a design of pink cherry blossoms, one of which has a deep red petal. Mebuki, her mother, was embracing her daughter to check on her. Mebuki is a blonde woman with shoulder-length hair that falls into her face and a single bang. She has fair skin. She also has green eyes and is dressed in a white keep-out dress with 3 circular red designs on the back and bottom of the dress. She's wearing brown sandals and pink A3/4 length pants underneath the dress. Kazashi thanked Naruto for his valiant act, saying, "Naruto, I can't thank you enough for saving Sakura. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't shown up. Thank you so much." "You're welcome, Mr. Haruno. I'm just glad that Sakura wasn't hurt because she is my precious people and I don't like people hurting someone precious to me," said Naruto as he blushed after noticing this and exchanging glances. The two came to the conclusion that the boy with blonde hair was infatuated with their daughter. When they turned to face Sakura, they saw that she was also flushed. It dawned on them immediately their young daughter harbored feelings for the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails and the son of the fourth Hokage. When Naruto saw the expression in their eyes, his face changed. They didn't want Sakura close to him, he explained. The two adults turned to the boy with the blonde hair and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Haruno, I understand your concern for Sakura being around me because of me being, you know what, and I don't blame you. You care for her safety and well-being, and if being around me puts her in any danger, then as of this moment I will no longer come anywhere near Sakura ever again. And Sakura, thank you for being my first friend. Goodbye." That is why Naruto left the Haruno household. Sakura's eyes were watering as she gazed at her parents. The two adults were taken aback that their daughter was aware of Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails. Why? Why does everyone hate Naruto? Just because he holds the nine-tailed fox doesn't make him that fox itself. Mebuki interrupted, "Saw Sakura, how did you know about Naruto being?" Sakura answered, "I know because Naruto told me himself. He trusts me and cares about me as much as I care about him. He would never hurt anyone, and yet people still want to hurt him. I don't care what happens. I'm going to go look for him." Sakura then fled her home in pursuit of Naruto, leaving Kazashi, Haruno and Mebuki in shock and surprise. Sakura looked everywhere, she even checked their favorite spot atop the Hokage monument, but Naruto was nowhere to be seen. However, she continued to search until she heard an Ali's voice. So she went to look, but she was completely taken aback by what she saw. Naruto was being beaten by 6 inebriated chunin. They were laughing at his suffering, and she could see blood dripping from his head. His body was covered in cuts and bruises. Unable to tolerate her best friend's beating, she attacked the 6 chunin with an iron rod that the ally had given her. She began striking, pushing them away from her Naruto, and even made a help call. Naruto was gradually becoming conscious. He witnessed Sakura protecting him from the 6 inebriated men. However, the drunks went on the attack. After deciding they had had enough, Sakura was slammed into the wall after they seized the rod and threw it away. One of Chunin yelled, "Why, you little bitch? I'm going to make you pay for that." He threw a number of shuriken at Pink Rosette. Sakura shut her eyes and awaited the shuriken's strike, but it never arrived. The Pink Rosette opened her eyes as she heard a familiar voice ask, "Are you, Pant, okay, Sakura? You, Pant, weren't hit, Pant, by the shuriken, were you?" She was horrified to see Naruto in front of her, protecting her from the shuriken attack. He was bleeding more than ever after the shuriken struck him deep in the back. The attack intended for her had gone to him. "Why, Naruto?" He interrupted, "Because you're a precious, Pant, person to me, Sakura. If, Pant, I caused you pain, I could never, Pant, forgive myself. I apologize." After that, Naruto passed out, but Sakura caught him and sobbed. She tried to call for assistance, but the 6 chunin just laughed and gathered around the 2 kids. "Looks like the demon is done for. Yeah, now let's kill it and exact revenge on our loved ones. How about the girl? We cannot allow her to escape. We'll be discovered." "You're correct. Well, I know we kill her and say the demon killed her, so we kill him to defend ourselves." Sakura was so terrified that she kept yelling for help. "Ha ha ha, keep on calling because there is no one who will save you now." The men in front of her wanted to kill her and Naruto, then blamed Naruto for the murder. Demon lover. One of the chunin pulled out a kunai and tried to kill Sakura, but in an instant the attacking chunin was on the ground, dead. Sakura looked up to their savior. Itachi Uchiha, who was in Anbu, had a ponytail, tears on his face, and a burning Sharingan. He was furious. "What in the world are you doing?" One of the idiots screamed. "That is not an innocent, that is the demon we are trying to kill. Now out of our way, we will avenge our loved ones." They then charged at Itachi, but he got behind them and knocked them all out before calling forth some shadow clones and having them taken to Ibiki Morino. Itachi then turned to Sakura, who was crying while holding an unconscious Naruto, and approached them before teleporting them to a nearby medic. When Itachi teleported himself with a bleeding Naruto and a sobbing Sakura, a young 15-year-old doctor with shoulder-length silver hair, an hourglass figure, brown eyes, and pink lips, wearing a brown shirt, blue jeans, and a doctor's cloak, was reviewing her patient's reports. She was appalled to see Naruto in such a state. "What happened here, Itachi? Why is there no time to get him in bed right now?" As the doctor began to remove the shuriken and kunai from Naruto's body, Itachi swiftly put him on the bed and it began to heal the wounds with a green glow that covered her hands. After a few minutes, Naruto was fully recovered and the bleeding had completely stopped. She wrapped some bandages around him to aid in the healing process, and when she was finished, she turned to Itachi and gave him a stern look that said, "I want answers now." Itachi gulped loudly when she said, "Itachi, why is the son of 4th Hokage in such a condition? I want a full report on this right now and I won't take no for answer." He had known Masuko Torabi from his genin days, and she was one of the best, a prodigy herself, and one of the toughest girls ever. She had adapted to being a medic when he became chunin, received 2 years of training from Tsunade Senju of the Sanin, and was acknowledged as the youngest doctor in village history. Her abilities were nearly on par with Tsunade's, and she had great chakra control comparable to a Hyuga. "I heard this girl call for assistance as I was making my way home from my mission. I made the decision to look into it, and what I discovered was abhorrent. The boy was being beaten by 6 chunin, who wanted to murder them both and blamed the poor boy for protecting the poor girl from numerous shuriken attacks. I took command, killed one of them, knocked out the others, and sent them to Ibiki. After realizing that enough was enough, then swiftly brought them here because I had a suspicion that some of the doctors might reject him or do something worse," Itachi said, turning to face Naruto. Sakura was still crying next to his bed, holding his hand and silently hoping he would awaken. Masuko said, "Now we need get the girl's parents and explain what had happened." "That won't be necessary because they are already here." Itachi pointed to the 2 individuals behind her. Sakura's parents were standing by the door, gasping for air after running around the village looking for their daughter. When they saw Itachi holding Sakura and Naruto, They hurriedly followed him and arrived at their current location. The two adults turned to face the kids in shock. Everything was heard by us, from the assault to their recovery and security. We are so grateful that you saved them, Itachi. Perhaps they did misjudge him despite what he had gone through, but Kazashi was determined to beg for forgiveness and accept Naruto for who he is and not for what he contains. He explained this to his wife, Mebuki, who was trying to calm her daughter down, before turning to Naruto, who was still unconscious. The poor boy, despite carrying the demon fox, protected his daughter until the very end, demonstrating how much he cares for her. Well, I had better leave now. After saying, my mother gets upset if I'm late for dinner, Itachi left the room. Naruto opened his eyes gradually and began to regain consciousness. Sakura was the first person he saw, embracing him and sobbing in his chest. Naruto, I see that you're awake at last. The doctor who bandaged and healed you is me, Masuko Torabi. The flashback's end. After receiving a health report and a diagnostic examination from Masuko, Naruto was given the all-clear to leave, but not before receiving a few apologies from the two Harunos. As Sakura's parents, they wanted their daughter to be safe, and they also realized that Naruto was the best friend Sakura had chosen because he kept her safe and helped her. Naruto accepted their apology and was happy that the Harunos accepted him, and the two children have stood by each other shoulder to shoulder ever since. Back to the present, Naruto is running because an angry mob is chasing him after he escaped from Danzo's root Anbu, who tortured him and tried to turn him into one of their own, but failed yet again. He was severely injured from the torture and experiments to control him, so he took every precaution to try to avoid the mob, but he didn't realize that he was at a dead end. Despite his injuries and the fact that his chakra was still sealed because of Danzo's goons, Naruto stood his ground and was able to defend himself when an Anbu wearing a turtle mask snuck up behind him and knocked him out with a thick iron bar. Naruto was bleeding from the back of his head and fell unconscious, but not before memorizing the faces that had attacked him, especially the Anbu. Yes, now we can kill the demon. I've thought of something better. Let's subject him to mental and physical torture. Yes. Let him suffer before we kill him. They dragged Naruto's unconscious body to an abandoned warehouse, saying, now you will know our pain demon. But not here, there might be witnesses. You're right. Let's get him somewhere more private. Let the torture start. When 4-year-old Naruto finished drawing a picture of his family at the dining table, he went to show it to his mother. Meanwhile, Kushina was reading a book in the living room when she heard, Mom. Mom. She turned to see Naruto holding up a drawing of his family. A picture of 5 people holding hands and grinning, and he said, look Mom, I made a drawing of all of us. He said this in the hopes of receiving some kind of praise and possibly some attention from his mother, who had a slender but feminine build, fair skin, violet eyes, and fiery red hair with strands framing both sides of her face and a black clip that parted her hair to the left, keeping it out of her eyes. She usually wore the same outfit, which consisted of a long, loose-fitting dress and a high-collared, sleeveless blouse. The dresses ranged from tan to green, and the blouses were shown in slate blue and white. She also wore a wristband that varied in color from black to dark blue on her left wrist. That's great Naruto, Kushina said, turning to the picture with a bored expression on her face and grinning slightly. Now go do what you were doing, she said, turning to continue reading her book. Naruto was sad that his mother didn't like the picture he made. Just then Natsumi and Menma came into the room. Natsumi was almost a picture-perfect replica of her mother. She had long red hair with blonde-yellow highlights, fair skin, a heart-shaped face and violet-purple eyes. She was wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt and white shorts, while Menma had fair skin, spiky red hair, a heart-shaped face and ocean blue eyes. He was wearing a light blue t-shirt and orange shorts. They saw Naruto had something as his hand and snatched it from him. Hey, return that. What is this? It appears utterly foolish. Why would you sketch something like this? He made fun of Naruto by saying, you're not stupid because you can't draw. Now give it back, Naruto said, attempting to retrieve his photo. No way. The two then began yanking for the photo. Won't you rip it? Menma was irritated that his sister took it from him, while Naruto was looking horrified because he had put so much effort into that picture and Natsumi had just destroyed it. There is no more fighting over it. Natsumi grabbed it and tore it to pieces, satisfied that her brothers had stopped fighting with the added benefit of causing Naruto pain. Why did you need to do that? He desired to beat and shove his siblings. He gestured to torn pieces of paper near his sister's feet and said, Mom, Natsumi ripped up my picture. Natsumi, why did you tear up the drawing? Kushina sighed as she turned to face her daughter. In an attempt to appear innocent, she said, because it was the only way get them to stop fighting, and it worked. Naruto was furious. After destroying his picture, how dare she pretend to be innocent? He wanted to punch his sister's foolish expression when he heard his mother. Naruto, clean up this mess. Why should I tidy up this mess? He pointed to his sister and remarked, it's her mess? The older brother is you cleaning up after their siblings is your responsibility. Additionally, I must begin training Natsumi and Menma, so begin tidying up this mess, Naruto, Kushina said, but Naruto refused. No, why should I when it's unfair? With tears in his eyes, Naruto screamed, she should clean it. Natsumi made the mess. He didn't like that his mother was giving Natsumi preferential treatment rather than disciplining her. After blinking a few times, Kushina narrowed his eyes and said, are you defying me, little boy? Naruto was aware of the tone in his mother's voice, but he didn't care. Why was he forcing himself to do something that was obviously Natsumi's fault? He said, I'm not picking it up. Naruto's screams and cries filled the house for the next 10 minutes. Review. Memory 2. Since his mother chose to train his siblings before all three of them, Naruto wanted to train today because he wants to be a ninja like everyone else. Naruto entered his father's study, where he was occupied with some paperwork, and he hoped that he could persuade Minato to give him some training. Minato was a fairly tall, fair-skinned man who has frequently been compared to Naruto in terms of appearance. Both have bright, blue eyes and spiky, blonde hair, with jaw-length bangs framing either side of his face. His typical outfit included a leaf green flak jacket, blue sandals, and a standard leaf ninja uniform with 2 bands on each sleeve. After he was promoted to Hokage, he began wearing a short-sleeved, long white haori with orange flame-like motifs on the edges and the symbols for 4th Hokage. C registered C, half plus or minus, Yandaime Hokage, written vertically down the back and closed on the front by a thin, orange rope. When Minato looked up from his paperwork and saw Naruto standing by the door, he simply sighed. Minato knew that Naruto wanted him to help train him, but Minato didn't want to do so because, unlike Natsumi and Menma, Naruto wasn't unique and wasn't worth training. Will you train me now, Dad? Asked Naruto without even glancing at his son. Minato uttered, I can't, Naruto, I'm busy right now, maybe next time. But you promised me last time that you would train me in the time before that. Why do you and Mom always push me aside when it comes to training Natsumi and Menma? The brunette pondered. Without taking his eyes off his work, Minato answered, Naruto, I can't right now, go ask your mother to train you. Naruto begged his father to train him, saying, I did, but she told me ask you because she was busy training Natsumi and Menma, so could you please train me? She's training Natsumi and Menma right now. Why didn't she inform me about this? Minato asked, getting up from his chair to accompany them to their training. Naruto called out to his father, Dad, what about me? Minato simply waved at Naruto as if nothing had happened and began to leave the room. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I have to assist your mother in training Natsumi and Menma. Go and play with your friends or something. Naruto's expression was one of hurt and rage. This is how it has always been. Menma is this and Natsumi is that. All the time he was consistently excluded, disregarded, and left behind. He closed his eyes and let out a cry, unable to contain his feelings any longer. Minato stops and stares at Naruto in complete bewilderment as he screams, why do I always have to be pushed away and ignored? Why do you never pay attention to me? That's always Menma and Natsumi. Why am I unable to be seen, heard, or given the time of day? Why do you all look so dull? After screaming, Naruto was slapped hard across the face and fell hard to the ground. His right cheek was red, and each time he looked up, he saw his father's irritated, sky-blue eyes. Minato decided he could stand Naruto's constant whining and complaining. Watch what you say, boy, at least you still have a place to call home, so rejoice. Naruto, now go to your room and remain there. I want you to understand that I don't want to see you until I call. Now go. Minato screamed, and Naruto, his eyes streaming, got up and fled the room, crying himself to sleep. Why? Why does everyone hate me? What did I ever do to deserve this? Naruto asked himself as he sobbed uncontrollably, unable to bear the daily suffering he had endured since he was 3 years old. Retrospection. Memory 3. In the mindscape, when Naruto woke up, he was in a huge room that looked like sewage, with water all around the floor and pipes running through the ceiling. He looked around to see where he was. Look at my head, where am I? What is this location? Taking the shuriken meant for Sakura is the last thing I recall. Where are you? Sakura? Answer me, Sakura, please answer me, Sakura. No, please Kami, please don't let anything happen to Sakura. I have to get out of here and find her. Hang on, Sakura, I'm coming. Naruto began sprinting through the passageways in an attempt to find a way out, but he was unsuccessful. Fuck it, I must leave this place, but how? Then he heard sounds coming from the pipes above him, and he had an idea. I'll follow the pipelines, of course. It will undoubtedly lead somewhere, Naruto said, following the pipes until he came to a room where they were coming from and where a light was emanating. This must be the way out. I hope Sakura is doing well." He continued to walk until he came upon a huge cage with the tag "Seal" on it. Wondering what might be inside the enormous cage, Naruto kept walking. Wonder what's behind this big cage? As Naruto got closer to the cage, two red eyes with slits opened, and a mouth full of razor-sharp fangs roared, frightening Naruto and making him recoil a little. The eyes looked down at Naruto and laughed. Naruto was frightened at the moment. "Ha ha ha ha, Asomi Jailer decided to greet me with his presence." "Jailer, then you're the nine-tailed fox," Naruto yelled. Gesturing to the creature behind the cage, the fox emerged from the shadows and into the light, and to his surprise, he saw a giant orange fox with 9 tails that was 36 stories tall, with black ear tips, a black part covering its eyes that was pulled sharply to the side of its head, and sharp claws. Naruto was enthralled by the sight of the 9 tails in all their splendor, and he gazed at it in wonder and with stars in his eyes. "Really incredible. I was unaware of how incredible and fluffy 9-tailed foxes were. Your fur is incredibly soft." As Naruto cuddled in the fox's fur coat, he remarked, "It makes me want to sleep on it all the time." The giant fox snarled at this, and the little meatbag had the audacity to call him fluffy. "It's amazing that he can accept, but no one calls him that." He yelled, "I'm not fluffy, you little meatbag. I'm an entity of living chakra and the most powerful tailed beast that ever existed, you hairless monkey. I'm not some common fluffy forest fox." Naruto ignored him and kept cuddling up to its fur. "However, you are," as he attempted to soothe the fox, Naruto whimpered, "you are a fox, and all foxes have soft, fluffy fur just like yours. Besides, no one should be locked up like this. You have a conscience, even if you're a tailed beast. I am aware that you had no intention of attacking or killing anyone 4 years ago because, for some reason, I think you were given a mission to attack Hashirama Senju and Leaf Village before Madara Uchiha took control of you. You were then sealed away within your first Jinchuriki, my great-great-grandmother Mito Uzumaki, but after all these years, you were ripped out of your second Jinchuriki, my mother Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, only to be used before being forced to be sealed back within the 3 of us when someone takes over another person and uses them as a personal puppet. I detest it. I detest that." Naruto uttered the venomous name of the cursed man. The fox was taken aback by this. Not only did the child in front of him share the same hatred for the cursed Madara Uchiha, but he also thought that no one, not even a tailed beast, should be imprisoned and used in such a manner. The fox smiled, thinking that perhaps this child wouldn't be all that horrible after all. "You are aware of the kit," the fox said. "You're the first person, aside from my old man, to treat me like a real person rather than a mindless animal. Thank you. Look, I know you detest being imprisoned, and I detest those who misuse their position of authority. However, I can also see that we share a lot of similarities. I am aware that the primary purpose of this seal is to tie you to me so that you will perish if I do. Am I correct?" Naruto explained, attempting to elicit a response from the fox. "That's accurate. The Shimigami herself created the seal, which unites us and our life forces in essence. It means that I will die if you do. Simple and uncomplicated, but it takes years to regain my strength, especially my chakra now that they're in your brother and sister, and even if I die, I can always reform," the fox told Naruto. "When that's bad, the entire dying process must be extremely painful. For the record, I wouldn't consider those two to be my siblings. They are merely a couple of pampered brats who are training to be ninjas. They believe that they can act however they please and still get away with it. How I detest that." Naruto lets out his frustration for a few minutes before settling down. "I'm always the one to be blamed, beaten, scorned, ignored, and punished while they get away with everything. It felt better there. I also noticed that we were never given the opportunity to introduce ourselves." Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is who I am. The fox gazed at Naruto, wondering how this young child could be so courteous and respectful to him. "I know that 9 tails is just a title because you have, well, 9 tails, so if I may ask, may I know your name?" "What gives you the impression that I have a name?" it inquired. "Well, as I previously stated, 9 tails is merely a title. You claim that I am the only person other than your elderly father who most likely gave you your name because, if I didn't know, he would constantly refer to you as 9 tails. By the way, I've been wondering who he was and, more importantly, where we are." A curious Naruto asked, and the fox raised an eyebrow. The child did have a point, and he then mentioned the elderly man who had brought him and his siblings to this world. The fox simply sighed and turned to face Naruto, who was smiling. "You're quite intelligent for your age. I must say I do have a name. Yes, Kurama is here. You may know him as the Sage of the 6 Paths, but his name was Hagamoro Otsutsuki. And as for our location," Kurama clarified, "well, we're in your mindscape." Standing in front of the Sage of the 6 Paths, the son of the legendary ninja, the father of all shinobi, the wielder of the legendary Rinnegan, and the ninja world's savior, completely overwhelmed Naruto just as he was about to ask some questions about the Sage of the Six Paths. He felt something touch his hand. He looked at his hand and saw nothing there, but then he felt someone holding it. Naruto turned to Kurama in the hopes of receiving some answers. Why does it feel like someone is holding my hand, Kurama? Although I can't see them, I can feel them. Are you aware of why? A curious Naruto asked. Maybe it's something to do with your vixen. My vixen? Who is that? Curious, he said, I don't know any vixens. To a fox, a vixen is a female fox, a mate or lover as you humans call it. Naruto blushed even more as he said, I was referring to the pink-haired girl you love. She has been waiting for you to wake up after that attack which took place before we met. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized that he had saved Sakura from those Chunin idiots before he passed out. Oh my god, I forgot all about Sakura. How could I have forgotten about her? Oh Kami, why did this have to do with me? I need to check on her? A terrified Naruto cried out. Kurama tried to calm Naruto, but it didn't work. Kid, you need to calm down. No, I am unable to soothe Kurama. I must know if she is okay. I want nothing bad to happen to her. If something were to happen to her because of me, I'm not sure what I'd do. Kurama, I can't let her go. Kurama's respect for Naruto grew as he realized that Naruto genuinely loved the pink rosette and would stop at nothing to protect her. This reminded him of his father, Hagamoro Otsutsuki, the sage of the Six Paths. I just can't, Naruto said, tears streaming down his cheeks. I can promise you, kid, that nobody hurt your vixen. I can assure you that she is okay. She hasn't been hurt by anyone. Naruto turned to face Kurama. Are you certain, Kurama? Are you certain she hasn't been harmed by anyone? Yes, Kid and Anbu with a Sharingan saved her. I think this was him, Kurama said, showing Naruto the pictures of what transpired after he was knocked out. Naruto was relieved that Sakura was unharmed and that Itachi had arrived in time. Sakura is secure. I'm relieved she's okay. Kurama nodded and said, I appreciate you showing these pictures. Kid, you're welcome. Kurama had just offered to train Naruto, so he was taken aback when he said, after you wake up, I've decided since the idiots you call parents won't train you, then I will help train you instead. Kurama, really? He nods and says, you'll help train me. I will train you and your vixen. Yes, Kid, think of it as a sincere apology for making life so miserable. Naruto swiftly defended him, saying, Kurama is not at fault. If anyone is to blame, it's those foolish villagers who are now blind to the truth due to their own hatred. I will never hold you responsible for my suffering or what transpired. Kurama grinned at this, knowing that Naruto would truly change the world, and his respect for him grew more than before. Thank you, Kit, that was very meaningful to me. I advise you to wake up now. Your vixen is becoming quite concerned for you. I appreciate you reminding me of Kurama. I suppose I'll see you later. Naruto then began to fade away entirely. Kurama then fell back asleep. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, you really do remind me of the old man. I guess that means I must be getting soft. Retrospection. Memory. For the majority of the Hyuga clan members have been using children, ranging from civilian orphans to other clan members, as training dummies. Although the victims were unaware of this attack, they suffer from chakra dysfunctions and are barely able to use their chakra for a few days. The worst part is that 5% of those children end up unable to use their chakra completely, which either kills them due to chakra blockage or ruins their career as ninjas. The remaining 95% of the children who survive the torture either go on with their lives as Danzo's personal drones. The public believed it was simply a genetic malfunction in the body or a failure in the chakra network, but once a day a child is brought to the Hyuga training ground, tied to a post, and dressed to resemble a training dummy, and then given a special genjutsu seal by Danzo that makes the dummy appear to be a real person. The Hyuga clan head, Hiashi Hyuga, and the Hyuga elders wanted their clan's taijutsu to be flawless and unbeatable, and Danzo wanted some strong children to join his root. Anbu, however, after using Naruto, they stopped using other children to avoid suspicion, but they continued to keep an eye on Danzo. Returning to Naruto, he had not only become the Hyuga clan's primary punching bag, but he had also learned that the Hyugas had been stealing and selling village secrets and other clan jutsus to make money for their clan, as well as stealing from the feudal lord of the Land of Fire. Danzo was also involved in this, as he would benefit financially from the operation, and everything was kept on file so they would be aware of it, making it a win-win situation for both of them. Because of his Anbu-like stealth and his mastery of silence, Naruto was able to keep the Hyugas in the dark about their betrayal and conspiracy right up until this point. This would make both Danzo and the Hyugas look like traitors to the entire country and bring shame to the village and the country, but most importantly, they would be put to death for stealing from the Fire Lord, the village and its clans, and the fact that all of the clan jutsus and jutsus that were sold were fake. Only Danzo and Hiashi had kept the real jutsus from other clans they stole for themselves, and they made fakes to make them look like the real thing. Hiashi had just returned from his meeting with a ninja from the hidden grass village. Like all members of his clan, he has long black hair and featureless white eyes. He usually wears very traditional, loose-fitting robes with a long-sleeved, brown haori. Hiashi had just sold some poison and antidote-making jutsus that were copied from Tsunade's medical book, but what he did was mix up the poison and antidote of the recipe written within the book. He looked towards the other members of the Hyuga clan and saw that they were beating Naruto. He smirked at the sight of Naruto's suffering, even though the Hyugas had never lost any of their clan members during the Nine-Tails attack. "I see that you have come back. Lord Hiashi, did your meeting with the grass ninja go as planned?" When one of the Hyugas from the main house asked, Hiashi simply grinned and took the briefcase that contained cash and some of Tsunade's notes regarding poisons and antidotes. "Yes, the discussion was very successful. The notes and formulas I gave them were all fraudulent, so the idiots won't know what to do or how to find us after this." With a smug expression on his face, Hiashi said, "Let them die for all I care. So long as we have our end paid, I could care less." He then turned to see multiple Hyugas beating up an unconscious Naruto, and his smug smile grew as he took pleasure in watching him suffer. He approached the hardly conscious blonde and grabbed him by the hair, causing him to turn to face Hiashi. Hyuga's pupil-less white eyes. "All right, so what have we got here? Naruto is the eldest son of my close friend Hokage and his soon-to-be spouse, Minato Namikaze. Tell me, Naruto, what it's like to be unwelcome, uncared for, and unappreciated. Similar to Hinata, the worthless daughter, she is a disgrace to my clan name and to the main house. I will never understand how she became a Hyuga, and she couldn't even stop a pathetic attempt at kidnapping by those weak clan members that took place last year and a half ago." Hiashi lets out his feat of rage as he continues to rant about his worthless daughter Hinata. After a few minutes of cursing and venting his frustration on Naruto, with no other Hyuga in the vicinity, he calmed down and turned to Naruto, who was still trying to escape despite his body being unable to move properly due to the beating he had received from Hiashi and other Hyuga members earlier. "Why have you been doing this every time for the last 3 years? You know that there is nothing you can do, even if you have that damned fox's powers locked inside of you. You attempt to flee until the very end each time we catch you and use you as a personal training dummy. After witnessing how quickly you heal and can nearly withstand our clan fighting techniques, we stopped using other kids. We Hyugas are and always will be the village's elite, as you will soon discover, and as soon as you marry my useless daughter, I will take over everything because the Hokage and the Hyugas will rule this village with an iron fist. Ha 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 ha." Hiashi described his plan without realizing that Naruto had concealed a camera-like seal in his right pocket, which was recording everything. "Cough. Please." Elites. Hiashi slapped Naruto for his remark. "You're as much an elite as Danzo is being Orochimaru's bitch." Naruto simply smirked and spat blood down his lips. "Those who merit their position and title are considered elite, a pitiful excuse of a man. That's all you are: anger, greed, disappointments, and failures. Do you wish to know why your daughter is so frail?" Hiashi punched Naruto in the face, saying, "Because she has a weak father, a useless teacher, a shame who calls himself a clan head, and a poor role model who can't show or do anything useful for her." Struck a nerve. "I see." Naruto continued to smirk. "You acknowledge that that punch was evidence of your weakness." Kaga cough. "Because your clan is old and weak, you enjoy stealing from other clans. You fear the growing strength of other clans. You steal from other clans because you fear they will surpass you and take away your so-called elite title. To stop them from becoming more powerful and weakening the village." Hiashi's eyes were wide as he looked at Naruto in terror. "You think your fighting styles make you invincible?" Kaga cough. "But I can see the flaws in your fighting styles. How could that be? It must be a trick. There is no possibility that their perfect attacks and ultimate defense could be stopped." The boy had discovered flaws in their clan taijutsu, but that's not possible. Their most powerful attacks had flaws. "There is no way that you little boy could ever do that. No one in this village or anywhere else could," Hiashi said with a trembling laugh. "Are you really expecting me to think that you, of all people, have figured out how to overcome our most formidable defenses and counterattacks? Don't laugh. What do you think about the fact that someone from the Hidden Mist village was able to obtain the so-called elite Byakugan and is still using it, even if I knew a way through your styles and defenses? Mr. My clan is unbeatable. Hiashi, you must accept the fact that you and your clan will always be weak. Regarding my marriage to your daughter, please act as though I would never wed her. She is a heartless bitch, just like you. I've witnessed how she behaves around everyone, feigning shyness, sweetness, and timidity before turning into a hot-headed bitch like you." Hiashi frowned as Naruto said, "I really find it hard to believe how a sweet and kind woman like Hitomi to even love you and give birth to such a bitch." Hiashi was punching Naruto repeatedly when he didn't notice his older daughter Hinata, who had dark blue hair, fair skin, and the traditional white eyes of her clan with a hint of lavender. Her hair was cut short and leveled, just above her forehead, and she was wearing a peach-colored kimono adorned with cherry blossoms. Hinata, who heard just about everything, felt pain in her heart. Hinata did love Naruto, but to Naruto, in his eyes, he didn't love her because she was obsessed in being with him. She would try to get in his pants, constantly stacking him like a hawk. It disgusted Naruto to even that she beat up a 3-year-old little girl, nearly crippling the poor girl just because Naruto gave her a flower instead of giving it to her, and that she tried and nearly killed both Sakura and Satsuki several times during their secret training exercise. No one but Naruto and Itachi knew of this when Naruto informed everyone after investigating and conforming his analysis to avoid the obsessed girl at all costs, although Sasuke has been planning a getting back at the bitch for trying to harm his family and precious people. Since then he knew the girl was a cold, heartless, obsessed fangirl bitch, and he will be damned if he ever be with her, let alone look at her after the stunts she's pulled. She just doesn't get it. He is not into her no matter what she does to get his attention or to eliminate the competition. After hearing what Naruto said, something cracked within Hinata. It unleashed her inner self. She felt more confident, stronger and more sadistic. She was no more that weak little girl, but as Naruto described, a cold, heartless fangirl bitch, a true Hyuga. What are you doing, father? Who else is with you? Even though Hinata knew her father was speaking to Naruto, she still asked him to make it appear as though he was using a training dummy. Hiashi activated the genjutsu surrounding Naruto and the chakra-suppressing seal. As Hiashi got ready to start his daughter's training, Hinata changed into her training clothes and started training. Nothing, Hinata, just getting ready for your training, that's all. Hinata turned to her father and said, "Yes, father, your training today has improved." Hiashi decided to pop the question. After hours of training and using the genjutsu-tied Naruto training dummy, Hinata gave Hiashi a sly grin that would have made even the Orochimaru sequel turn into a fangirl. "Tell me why you suddenly felt more confident and struck." "I need to be strong and assertive so that no one can challenge me, especially Sakura Haruno and Satsuki Uchiha, if I want to win Naruto over and become his wife. I'll demonstrate to them that Naruto is exclusively mine. I will kill them if I have to claim what is rightfully mine," Hinata said with a genuinely terrifying laugh that sent shivers down both Hiashi's and Naruto's spines. Hiashi couldn't believe it. Hinata didn't shudder, blush, or faint when she mentioned Naruto's name, nor did she appear weak. This was a completely different Hinata, a sadistic, cold, confident, strong, and cruel Hinata, and in his eyes, a true Hyuga. Hiashi was grinning wildly and was beginning to like this aspect of his daughter. "Well, it appears that you have shown me, Hinata, that you are, in fact, a true Hyuga. Do you understand, Hinata? I want you to honor your promise and make me and our clan proud." Hinata merely grinned as Hiashi gave his daughter an order. "Yes, Dad, I'll bring honor to our clan. Oh, and Naruto," she said, turning to face the genjutsu posted Naruto with a maniacal smile. "You are mine," she said. "Are you aware of mine and mine only? I'll kill those two whores soon and take permanent possession of you." Hee hee ha 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 ha. Hinata and Hiashi laughed as they left the room. Neither of them knew that Naruto had set up shadow clones to document the recent events and steal the scrolls and jutsus from the other clans, replacing them with fakes so that neither Hiashi nor any Hyuga would be able to tell the difference. "We have the video, jutsus, and scrolls, boss." As the other two untied and picked up the original Naruto, one of the clones remarked, "Everything is here." Naruto grinned at his clone's excellent work. "Well done, boys, now let's get out of here before someone sees us," Naruto said to his clones in a weary, low voice. "Yes, boss." With that, they were able to leave the Hyuga compound and make their way to Masuko so that she could heal Naruto's wounds and one of the clones could covertly return the stolen scrolls to their rightful owners. By the time they realized it was a fake, it would be too late. Naruto also told his clones to place a few safety seals on the scrolls so that only members of each clan members other than Root Anbu could ever steal or learn those secrets. Retrospection. Memory 5. A 6-year-old Naruto was in a clearing of a deep forest out of Anbu's sight working on his next new jutsu. He had already mastered and gained full control over all 5 of the elements, the youngest to achieve his masters in sealing arts and became a powerful level 20 seal master. His chakra control has surpassed even the Hyugas and he has mastered and completed the Rasengan in 3 days. It took him just 1 day for him to understand and master the 3 stages of the Rasengan and 2 to add elemental nature to it. He even made several SS rank jutsu and seals out of the Rasengan, such as the 5 elemental Rasengan seal, 5 fingers Rasengan, fire style, dragon Rasengan, fire style, flaming Rasengan, fire style, Rasengan, water style. Whirlpool Rasengan, Water Style. Titan Rasengan, Water Style. Rasengan, Wind Style. Rasen Shuriken, Wind Style. Tornado Rasengan, Wind Style. Rasengan, Lightning Style. Rasengan Shockwave, Lighting Style. Flash Rasengan, Lighting Style. Rasengan, Earth Style. Hammer Rasengan, Earth Style. Genbu Rasengan, Earth Style. Rasengan, Giant Rasengan. Big Ball Rasengan. Twin Rasengan Barrage. Rasengan Barrage. The Rasen Fists. Rasen Shotgun and the Rasen Blade. Right now Naruto working on combining all 5 elemental natures into the 5 elements Rasengan. He even made his own version of the Flying Thunder God, which gave his father the nickname the Yellow Flash of the Leaf. The one for speed is called the Flash Step and the one to kill is called Flash Dagger. By combining wind and lighting, Naruto mastered the Swift Kekkei Genkai or Swift Bloodline limit. He was not only able to master them, but he doesn't acquire special kunai knives with seals like the Thunder God to move faster. Thanks to the gravity seals and his mastery over wind and lightning, he was able to manipulate the course of Flash Step's speed, making him faster while also able to maneuver lightning similar to the Hyuga's so-called ultimate defense, which allows him to take out 15 meters of enemies in 10 seconds DOS, creating the Flash Dagger. Both techniques are considered SS rank for both speed and power. Only Sakura, Kurama, Hiruzen, Itachi, Asuma and Fugaku have seen these 2 techniques. Naruto wanted to keep these a secret until the time is right. As Naruto was about to succeed, the sphere cracked and BOOM. The sphere exploded. It caused a sizable crater, but Naruto was far from injured. During his training with Kurama, Sakura, Sasuke, Satsuki, Itachi, Shisui, Masuko, Makoto, Fugaku, Asuma, Hiruzen and sometimes Little Kono, Naruto would always put up a barrier to prevent anyone from spying and learning anything from them. The only person besides Naruto who knows these techniques in and out are Sakura and Kurama. Naruto would sometimes train on his own to master every jutsu and technique that he sometimes almost blows himself up, so he created a barrier that not only absorbs the destructive attack power but most of all it's to prevent anyone from getting any serious injuries. When Naruto awoke to find himself in a crater formed by the blast of the exploded Rasengan, he was frustrated because he was unable to unite all 5 elemental chakras into a single, potent element that could rock the ninja world to its foundation. Damn it, why is it so hard? What am I doing incorrectly? Naruto thought to himself. In an attempt to soothe Naruto, Kurama said, "Kid, why don't you take a break? You've been working on the new Rasengan all day, you're going to injure and tire yourself out." "I know, Kurama, it's probably because I'm getting distracted, that's all. Maybe I need to clear my MI," he said before being interrupted by his shadow clone's memories, which were unexpected. This was from earlier this morning. The clan elders for both Uzumaki and Namikaze came over to talk to Minato and Kushina about something. One of the elders pulled out a scroll and told them to sign, saying that it was the clan's exams and permissions document. After Minato and Kushina signed it without even reading it, they noticed the elders wanted Naruto's signature as well. Before Naruto could leave, his parents made him sign it because he was the oldest of the 3, and the same thing happened. He received a paper cut and a drop of blood fell on the document, but Naruto noticed the drops of blood quickly started to form a seal, but the elders saw this and quickly took the document and sealed it away. Naruto also noticed another seal on the document as well. Naruto didn't trust the elders or the fact that his parents asked him to sign the document without properly reading the piece of paper given to them. He knew something was up, so he decided to investigate. When the elders had left, Naruto decided to send a shadow clone to follow them and find out what the seals and document were. Naruto's shadow clone was able to find the document but never expected to be in for the shock of his life. There were indeed 2 unknown seals on the document aside the clan head seal and the Hokage's seal. One was a genjutsu seal that can fool even the eyes of the Byakugan and Sharingan for a short time. To put up such a seal on this document means it must be extremely important to keep secret. He undid the seal to gaze into the horror that was in his hand. The document in his hand was an exile and disownment. Naruto couldn't believe it. His own parents had just signed the very document that broke him completely. How could they? How could they do such a thing to him? Why, damn it. But that was the worst of it. When Naruto saw the second seal, he died on the inside completely. The second seal was a forbidden blood seal. This seal was designed to erase the relationship of the parents and child or clansmen by blood completely. No matter what they try to do or find a loophole, as long that seal stays, there is nothing anyone, not even the greatest seal masters, could break that seal. Meaning Naruto was now unintentionally officially exiled and disowned from his clans, but he was also officially disowned by his parents of legal rights and of blood. He has lost all his rights by blood and legal terms. Naruto fell to knees and gripped his chest as tears started to run down his cheeks. He felt his heart was ripped out of his chest, stabbed several times and stepped on over and over again. The pain of his family's betrayal was unbearable. Was he nothing to them? Was this truly how they felt about him? To ignore him and cause him so pain and misery? In his mindscape, Kurama was pissed would be understatement. His anger and the raging killing intent he was releasing alone was more than enough to level the village. He was screaming, smashing through his cage and cursing, unable to keep his pent-up anger in check any longer. The neglect, beatings and loneliness caused by the Uzumamis in this village he was able to handle because Naruto had people he was able to count on. Even his parents, even when they were never there for him, he still considered them precious people. But now Naruto didn't know what to think. He didn't whether to break down crying or go insane. Kurama felt sorry for Naruto cause he just lost his family, his birthright, clanship and blood right forever. Naruto scowled as he suddenly sensed a familiar chakra presence. He knew who it was and why he was there. Come out, Danzo. I am aware of your presence. Get your crippled ass out here and bring out those robots of yours as well. Naruto nearly screamed out when a shadow emerged from the trees. Danzo Shimura, the leader of Root and one of the Hokage's advisors. Danzo appeared as a frail, elderly man who would typically walk with a cane. He had black, shaggy hair and a bandaged right eye, which concealed a Sharingan underneath. He had an X-shaped scar on his chin since he was a young man, and he wore a white shirt with a black or dark gray robe over the top that covered his feet and just over his right shoulder. Danzo entered the clearing, with 6 of his Root behind him, ready to attack when ordered. It appears that I can't evade your senses after all. How much you've changed since our last encounter. How is your training progressing? Danzo made an effort to strike up a conversation, but Naruto knew that Danzo would try to gain control because, to him, Naruto was an ideal weapon, and with his increasing strength and the nine-tailed fox inside of him, it was too good to resist. Danzo frowned when Naruto smirked and said, "My training is going well, just like you enjoy being Orochimaru's fuck toy." Naruto was a master at controlling his emotions, but only he could really get under Danzo's skin because he knew how to get past any of his defenses with little effort, but he was always on his guard and Danzo was not to be taken lightly. You treat your elders with such disrespect. How is your father going to react to this? Knowing that Naruto has always been trying to prove to his parents that he is their son and will stop at nothing to gain their attention, even if it means getting beaten by the villagers, Danzo said this in an attempt to get under Naruto's skin. Naruto lowered his head as Danzo grinned, knowing that he had him exactly where he wanted him. Danzo flinched as Naruto's head shot up, his eyes changing from sapphire blue to blood red with slits, saying, "He'd say to avoid you and if possible, kick your ass if you try anything funny. I also have a few secrets about you, Danzo, so it's okay if you want to play the blackmail game." Curious as to whether the boy even knew any of his secrets, Danzo asked, "And what secrets could you know about?" Danzo's eyes widened as he said, "There are a few like you aiding Hanzo of the Salamander without the village during the Second Great Ninja War to wipe out a certain group of ninja who wanted to overthrow a tyrant and free the land they lived in." Naruto grinned at this. "Are you helping Orochimaru of the Sannin in his experiments and helping him escape from the village 4 years ago? Or are you killing and destroying the people and families from the village hidden in the woods or kidnapped children from orphanages and other villages? Or are you helping the Hyuga bitches in stealing and selling clan jutsus for personal gain? Should I continue? How could this brat obtain this information?" Danzo clenched his teeth. Only he and his Root knew these secrets and details, but where exactly did the runt find out? "I won't be shocked if you cause the Leaf's demise because you've caused so many issues. You will never be Hokage." Danzo the second Hokage was aware that if you were the Hokage, this village would be completely destroyed and on fire by now. Both ninjas and civilians will have either moved out or killed one another. The only thing you will ever be is yourself because you only care about yourself. "Oh, and what's that? A coward." Before Danzo could respond to Naruto's statement, a kunai struck the middle of the clearing, and Asuma, Hiruzen, and Itachi emerged from the bushes. "Hi Naruto, I was unaware that you were hosting a party. I would have brought some guests." Asuma greeted his surrogate nephew before glaring at Danzo and company while brandishing his Thrive knives. Hiruzen then took the stage. "What are you doing here, Danzo? This is not your place. Now, I suggest you leave Naruto alone or else." However, one of the Root Anbu foolishly attacked, and Naruto saw this. Wind style. Wind blade. A multitude of blades made entirely of wind surrounded and killed the Anbu, leaving a bloody corpse and hundreds of cuts through the ground and trees. Danzo was taken aback by the attack's sheer force and power. "Danzo, your plans for this village or for me will never materialize. You're a coward as a coward. You hide in the shadows and force others to do your work with Hiruzen, Asuma, and Itachi around, Danzo knew he couldn't take Naruto yet, so he charged his wind armor and said, "Now leave or you and your drones will be leaving in a body bag." "Alright, Sarutobi the boy will soon be my weapon, but for now, I will leave him alone. Oh, and Naruto." Naruto gave Danzo the impression that he had already done something. "What causes crippling?" Asuma laughed at the moniker. "Have fun with your no longer family." Naruto's eyes widened and he made a few hand signals before Danzo vanished with a sly smile on his face and was struck by a fire style. Fire Dragon Ball, a mansion-sized dragon made of fire. Naruto screamed as he punched the burned trees until his knuckles were bleeding. "Damn you, Danzo! Damn you asshole!" the blonde boy said as tears streamed down his cheeks as he proceeded to destroy the burned trees in front of him. Hiruzen grabbed the distraught boy and gave him a hug in an attempt to calm him down. Naruto, unable to bear the pain any longer, sobbed in his grandfather figure's shoulder. Once Naruto had calmed down, Hiruzen made the decision to ask Naruto about Danzo's earlier presence. "Naruto, what did he mean when he said that Danzo and his root were no longer family, and why were they here?" Hiruzen saw this and realized that something terrible had happened, and he would not like it. Naruto gazed at his grandfather before turning to face the ground. "The crippled bastard made an unsuccessful attempt to speak with me and persuade me to rejoin his root Anbu. After I showed him a lot of disrespect for his old crippled ass, he attempted to blackmail me. I even unveiled some of the skims he's done a few during the Second Great Ninja Wars and him aiding the escape of your former student Orochimaru of the Sannin." Hiruzen's eyes widened upon hearing that Danzo had helped Orochimaru flee the village. "Damn it, why didn't I see it before? I should have known Danzo was behind this. He will pay for this." But that's not the worst of it. Hiruzen returned his focus to Naruto to learn more about what had transpired earlier. Early this morning the clan elders came over to the house and told that they needed a few signatures from Minato and Kushina. Naruto stopped referring to them as mom and dad and instead chose to use their names. Then they said that I was required to sign the document as well after they ignored him sufficiently. I didn't want to sign it at first because I thought it was just a regular document, but Minato and Kushina made me. I got a paper cut from it after I signed it 3 times. Hiruzen was now beginning to worry when he saw that the blood droplets were beginning to form a seal. However, the elders saw this, promptly sealed it away, and departed. I sent a shadow clone to discover the true nature of that document because I knew something wasn't right. Apart from the seals of the Hokage and the clan head, Gramps had 2 seals. "Naruto, what were these seals?" Assuming the worst, Hiruzen asked. "A Genjutsu seal was the first one. Even the Byakugan and Sharingan are unable to detect it. I couldn't believe what I saw when I opened the Genjutsu seal. I simply couldn't." Naruto sobbed in his grandfather's shoulder, the agony he let out intolerable. "Naruto, what was the document you found?" Hiruzen was shocked to learn that Minato and Kushina had not only disowned Naruto but also exiled him from their clan. Itachi was looking at his younger brother empathetically while Asuma was letting out a fit of rage and swearing. And Hiruzen was furious. It was an exile and a disownment document. Naruto was still sobbing in his grandfather's shoulder. The 3 adults turned back to Naruto and said, "But that's not the worst of it. The second seal on the document was a forbidden blood seal. You know this one. Gramps, it was you who made it illegal for anyone to use this ever again. You gave it the Z-rank designation." As he began to perspire, Hiruzen realized that if he had banned it from ever being used again, it must be something horrible, especially if it was a Z-rank jutsu, which means death or something much worse. "Naruto, what is the name and description of the seal?" Hiruzen asked, fearing the worst. Naruto was shaking as he tried to say the name of the very seal that has killed hundreds of thousands of people. This seal was the Destroyer, the deadliest and most dreaded of all seals in the elemental nation. "I can't even begin to imagine what you must be going through right now, Naruto, but I'll make sure we see through this. I swear it, my grandson." Hiruzen nearly had a heart attack, never imagining that after all these years he would never hear that cursed name again. "My God, Minato, Kushina, what have you done? What caused you to this to your own son? How could the 2 of you betray him like this?" Hiruzen saw that Naruto was still trembling as the Hokage and 2 seals, including the forbidden ones. Itachi also wanted to know about the seal, so Asuma asked, "Dad, why do you look like you almost had a heart attack, and what's so special about that seal Naruto was talking about?" "It is serious business to make Professor and God of Shinobi Hiruzen Sarutobi sweat and frighten him in this way. One blood seal that is prohibited is the Shimigami blood seal. It was once believed that the Shimigami himself bestowed its powers. The seal cannot be removed once it is in place unless one of the blood signs or the 2 or more people whose blood was used to create it are deceased." This caught Asuma and Itachi completely off guard. It is to be said that it is the Shimigami himself will stand before you and take your soul in front of everyone. But that's not the worst of what that accursed seal could do. A seal that can only be broken if all the blood relations that formed it are dead, and the appearance of the Shimigami in broad daylight is truly terrifying. What are you saying, Lord Sarutobi? What more is this capable of? Itachi inquired as to what additional abilities this seal might have. Hiruzen glanced at Naruto to see if they were okay with it, but Naruto simply nodded. Hiruzen sighed, knowing that a confrontation would follow. That was the initial cause. The seal also had the ability to sever the blood bond between a parent and child, which is the second reason I forbade anyone from ever using it again. Thus, Naruto is no longer the son of Minato and Kushina. Additionally, it indicates that he is no longer a Namikaze or Uzumaki. As he attempted to console his sobbing grandson, Hiruzen explained, and that accursed has the power to destroy the souls of one that die by its power. Asuma and Itachi were in complete shock. Naruto had just lost his clan's rights and his blood, but the Shimigami himself would also destroy his soul. Asuma was destroying some of the trees, and Itachi was doing his best not to kill the Uzumaki Namikazes for what they had done. I suggest we go talk to Minato and Kushina about this. Dad ignoring him is one thing, but this is quite another. This has gotten out of hand. With a nod, Itachi said, I concur with Asuma. Lord Sarutobi. Yes, this has gone too far. There is nothing wrong with Naruto, but he is mistreated, despised, and neglected. However, they now discard him like some sort of trash. Even worse, they have signed Naruto's name to death. I will not tolerate this, and I will stop at nothing to kill them where they stand. You guys don't need worry about them. The three men turned to face Naruto, who was rising from his grandfather's shoulder. I've been planning this for some time now, so I think it's best if I told you. Tell us, Naruto. Hiruzen questioned him. I've been planning on leaving the village. What? When the only question the three of them could ask was, why? I've had enough of the way my, no longer family and clan, and this village have treated me. Furthermore, Minato sends those dogs to watch me suffer, and I will never be able to live freely without them. Don't worry about telling Sakura. I've made up my mind to leave tonight. I've already discussed this with her and her parents. Aside from that, do you realize that if I stay, I won't be able to train properly and will probably have to live as a civilian rather than a ninja? In addition, I won't be able to protect myself. I'll be targeted in multiple ways, and I've already been listed as the most despised person in the village. I've made up my mind and I won't change it. Hiruzen sighed, knowing that once Naruto made up his mind, it was nearly impossible to change it. He didn't want his grandson to leave, but he knew that Naruto was correct in every way. If he stayed in the village, he wouldn't find peace outside of those who cared for him and would still be despised, but he could grow stronger, gain experience, and acquire knowledge that would be helpful in the future. Excellent, Naruto. I won't stop you if you insist on going. This shocked Asuma and Itachi, who nodded in agreement. Dad, you can't be serious. In addition to missing Nin, there are people from the village hidden in the stones, and since Naruto is a perfect replica of his father, they would most likely target him and kill him if they saw him. Naruto has already decided he's already endured enough suffering. And now that he has refrained from leaving the village, he has nearly nothing left. Naruto and his welfare have never been important to many of us. He views us as a family, and if he were to grow stronger, we would have to let go. I am aware that we do not want Naruto to experience this, but try to see it from his perspective. Asuma and Itachi simply sighed. They knew it was a bad idea, but they also knew that if Naruto stayed in the village, he would probably be subjected to constant torture. It was just common sense. All right, Naruto, come see us tonight at 9 p.m. at the Uchiha clan compound. Asuma ruffled Naruto's hair and said, okay, sport. Uncle Asuma, don't be alarmed. Naruto smiled foxily at him and said, I swear I'll be back before the Genin exams. Itachi left in a swirl of fire, one of Naruto's elemental body flicker jutsus that he had taught them. All right, then, see you at 9. Naruto. Asuma and Hiruzen left in a swirl of wind and earth. Naruto returned to his training. Conscious of the prying eyes that had been watching him the entire time, they were none other than Hinata. Hyuga. Naruto immediately put up a barrier to block the so-called Psycho Bitch's Byakugan before vanishing. When Hinata was unable to locate him with her Byakugan, she became irate before breaking into a maniacal smile. So Naruto is leaving the village in 2 nights, Hinata said. In any case, I'll simply follow him covertly and be with him alone, away from those whores. Naruto and I alone. Hee hee ha ha ha. Hinata heard that Naruto was leaving the village 2 nights from now. Even though he was actually leaving tonight, he felt that Hinata would stalk him again, so he put up a barrier that would obstruct the Byakugan's vision and cause some confusion. Now that Naruto was safe, he returned to his training, hoping that tonight he would be able to leave without getting caught in another fox hunt, but he had no idea how mistaken he was going to be. The end of memories and flashback. These were our hero's pre-ambush memories. Currently, Naruto is being dragged unconsciously and tied up in an abandoned warehouse. His possessions were hidden in an invisible storage seal in his right arm to prevent theft or destruction. A group of Naruto haters and so-called Avengers gathered around with their weapons and such. Every time Naruto attempted to regain consciousness, someone would knock him out cold. The entire day and night was spent torturing, beating, and, worst of all, the rape of an innocent child. A fat man who looked like a pig unzipped his pants and let them fall, then abruptly threw them into Naruto's asshole, causing him to cry in agony as the man repeatedly broke his ass. Danzo's seal prevented Kurama from doing anything but watching as he was raped right in front of him, and he wanted nothing more than to kill the idiots who were raped for doing this to his kid. After an hour, they began beating him until he was covered in blood, and then they smashed his head with a 6-inch thick iron bar to the side of his head, rendering him completely unconscious. Naruto was hung over a pipe, naked and completely lifeless. Ha 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 ha, one of the Naruto detractors shouted, "The demon's dead, finally we have avenged our fallen friends and family. Now let's get rid of this demon's body from our village once and for all before anyone notices this," a different man responded. "Where should this filth be disposed of?" Everyone stared at the turtle-masked Anbu as though he were insane. "I know, let's end it where it all began," one of them said. "What are you saying?" one of them said. "I mean let's throw him where that once fought, and that would be." Did everyone understand what he was trying to say when he said, "the Valley of End"? Yes, let's get rid of him there. He wouldn't be discovered there. He will never live because of the injuries we caused him, and the river will carry him away from here. When they reached the Valley of End, the final battleground of the two legendary shinobi Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, they untied him, beat him up once more, and stuffed him in a sack before the Anbu sealed it away. The Anbu unsealed the sack and threw Naruto out of it, and the rest of them began another round of beating him up. The turtle-masked Anbu grabbed the naked boy by the hair and dangled him over the enormous statue of Hashirama Senju by the enormous waterfall. "Think of this as my strategy to get rid of you, idiot. No one will miss you when you pass away because you took my mother and sister away from me. Say goodbye, demon." He threw Naruto directly into the river before disappearing from the scene, leaving him immobile and unable to use his chakra or call for assistance. Is this it? Am I really going to die like this? Naruto's final vision was a flash of bright red before he vanished into the shadows. Naruto opened his eyes slowly as he awoke. There were some bandages on him. Despite feeling a little queasy, the majority of his wounds, including his internal injuries, had fully healed. He stood up, picked up the trash can next to his bed, and began to throw up. He eventually felt somewhat better, but he was still feeling under the weather, so for the time being he needed explanations as he tried to remember what had happened. Naruto reclined on the bed. He's where? What had transpired at the Valley of the End when he fell? More significantly, who prevented him from dying? Flashback: some Anbu and Jonin ambushed him after his training, beating him until he passed out. When Naruto returned home a few hours later, both of his parents slapped him for being late, his godparents insulted him, and he was made to engage in a 2-on-1 sparring session with his siblings. It was Jiraiya and Tsunade who proposed this. Jiraiya was a tall man with 2 shoulder-length bangs framing each side of his face and waist-length. Spiky white hair that was typically pulled back into a ponytail. In addition, he wore a horned forehead protector with the symbol for oil, A², Abura, signifying his connection to Mount Myaboku, and had red lines running down from his eyes on the left side of his nose. There was also a noticeable wart. Jiraiya was dressed in a green short shirt kimono and matching pants, with mesh armor peeking out from the sleeves and legs. Handguards, a plain black belt, traditional Japanese geta, wooden sandals, a red haori with 2 plain yellow circles on either side, and a scroll on his back completed his ensemble. Tsunade was wearing a grass-green haori with the symbol for gamble, E3, cake, written in black inside a red circle on the back. He also had a tattoo on his left palm that looked similar to Gamma's. She has a wide, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants to hold her sleeveless gray kimono-style blouse in place underneath. Her large cleavage is exposed by the low closure of her blouse. She has red polish on her toenails and fingernails and is dressed in high-heeled, open-toed, strappy black sandals. Her grandfather's necklace is prominently displayed on her chest, and she also sports a delicate pink lipstick. Naruto was in no shape to fight, much less defend him. Consider this your punishment: coming home late and for not answering our questions. However, he overcame the 2 brats he refers to as siblings somehow. However, he failed to witness Minato's Rasengan striking Naruto's torso. Then, without warning, Kushina struck Naruto with her chakra chain. Tsunade punched the helpless boy into a tree, shattering it in 2. using her chakra-enhanced fist. Jiraiya used Naruto to call forth a medium-weight but powerful toad. Following the damage, Minato dispatched a pair of shadow clones to retrieve the unconscious kids and take them to their rooms once Tsunade had finished tending to their wounds. After they had left, Minato returned his focus to Naruto, who was having difficulty standing up. Minato began calling Naruto a monster, a demon, and said that he should have died after the ceiling after punching and beating him up once more until the poor boy was immobile. The others quickly followed. Kurama was prepared to unleash hell on the two surviving Sannin and the Uzunamis inside the seal. Kurama saw that Naruto's chakra level was beginning to rise quickly just as he was ready to lead the charge in destroying them. Then something happened. Naruto felt something snap inside of him. He set up a barrier to prevent anyone from sensing the sudden, geyser-like flare of his chakra. His injuries were beginning to heal incredibly quickly. His eyes were full of hurt, anger, and most importantly, betrayal. Naruto quickly applied paralyzing seals to everyone, preventing them from moving, and then used his flash step to destroy them all. Nobody was able to track his movements technically. He was quicker than Minato, and the damage was done before they realized it. Tsunade's right arm, leg, black eye, torso, and jaw were all broken by him. Jiraiya's head, hands, kneecaps, and shoulders were all bleeding. He has a gash in his stomach and a cracked rib in addition to having her arms broken, a few cracked ribs, and a kidney puncture. Kushina suffered severe injuries to her legs. Minato suffered multiple wounds, a broken jaw, cracked ribs, broken fingers, a blackened right eye, and broken left arms and legs. Naruto dispatched two clones to collect his belongings. Menma and Natsumi attacked them after they got back. Naruto used the same move in retaliation before they could attack. Natsumi's arms were bleeding, her torso was bruised, her wrists were broken, and her left eye was black. Menma had a punctured kidney, broken arms and legs, broken ribs, and bleeding from head to torso. The adults were barely conscious, but Natsumi and Menma were unconscious. Naruto approached Minato and gave him a kick to the stomach. The same is true of Kushina. Jiraiya's jaw was busted after he was kicked and stepped on hard in the balls in addition to having her right leg broken. Tsunade was suffering from having her arms nearly severed with an expression of disgust and unbridled anger in his eyes. Naruto gazed at them. His feelings for them were practically shouted out. Serves you right for what you did to me. You never once cared if I lived or died. You used me for your own personal gain and left me to rot. The neglect, abuse, beating, torture, molest, being experimented on, used as a ragdoll for personal training and having being poisoned by you and this village ends tonight. Everyone's eyes were as wide as dinner plates. Naruto was venting his annoyance at everything they and the villagers had done to him, particularly the poisoning and experimentation. What prevented them from noticing? To what extent have they really ignored him? He gestured to Kushina and Minato. You and your bitch use me as a scapegoat to vent out yours and fucking villagers' frustration to the point of nearly killing me almost every single day. You never cared even if I was dying of starvation. That's right, you stupid fucking fangirl bitch. I had never been fed by you since I was 3. I had get own food to the point that I was forced to eat out of garbage cans because besides Ichiraku's no restaurant would ever serve me without trying to poison me or having throw out by the hair or after a beating. I almost died on several occasions because of that, and if that isn't enough, every day I'm beaten and tortured to the point that I've seen the Shimigami quiet a few times as well. I was already at her doorstep and I was almost sent straight to hell a few times as well. What the two parents were hearing was unbelievable. Because he was forgotten during lunch or dinner, Naruto was forced to eat from trash cans or eat tainted food prepared by locals and restaurants, or else he would have perished from starvation. Kushina was in tears. She recalled how she frequently neglected to prepare meals for Naruto. The fact that he was always sent to his room without food or dinner. He must have been so hungry that he was forced to eat from trash cans in order to stifle his hunger or risk being poisoned by the food the villagers forced him to eat. However, the fact that their own son, Naruto, had actually encountered and confronted the Shimigami multiple times following the beatings and torture he endured at the hands of the villagers was what was truly sacred and painful to them both. To what extent have they really neglected him? What exactly had they been up to during all of this? Tears were streaming down Kushina's face. What sort of mother was she? She did nothing to stop her baby boy from going through hell or to support him during his difficult time. Rather than caring what happened to him, she simply abandoned him to suffer. Minato's situation remained unchanged. He led the clan as the Hokage, but above all, he was a father. He was meant to protect and care for his children, but instead of caring whether Naruto lived or died, he allowed his son, his own flesh and blood, to suffer. All of this was done to maintain the villagers' happiness and demonstrate his legitimacy as the Hokage. He is now bearing the consequences of his errors. Then he gestured toward Jiraiya. You would use as decoy to distract the workers at the hot springs so no one would disturb your fucking research. Bullshit research, you dickless pervert. You even used me as a replacement if you get caught peeking on naked women and have me receive your beatings or join them in beating me up. Jiraiya sighed. It was accurate. He would occasionally join in the beating or use Naruto as a distraction and decoy for his research and escape. What happened to the boy didn't matter to him. He was completely unconcerned as long as his research was successful. Then, releasing a great deal of killing intent, he pointed at Tsunade. You worthless mother-fucking pathetic excuse of AMEDIC. How you became a medic is beyond me when you couldn't even tell the difference between acting and an actual poison victims. Every time I came to get the poison out of my system or an injury healed, you would either chase me away saying that I was trying to waste your time or you would punch me through several walls, breaking a few of my bones along the process. Tsunade sighed. She didn't care what Naruto had to say or whether he was hurt. Every time he came to see her, she would either punch him or chase him away. In an attempt to remember something they had done for Naruto, Minato and Kushina failed. Does anyone of you even remember when my birthday is? What I was given and received for them or showed any initiative to show me any love or at least check if I'm alive or you assume that I would have been killed by the villagers? Is that it? All they could recall doing for Naruto was beating him, shunning him, and yelling at him. Naruto ripped his shirt off even though he was still recovering. They could still see some of the deep scars and wounds. This, he gestured to the wounds and scars he had sustained over the previous 3 years. This right here, all these wounds and scars on my body, this is what I went through for 3 fucking years. This was I had to endure for 3 years while you all played happy family. They were truly unwilling to accept it, particularly Kushina and Minato. This is what Naruto experienced. His body was brutally scarred and wounded as a result of the villagers' daily treatment of him. They are still blind as ever if this beating hasn't made them realize the mistakes they made with Naruto. With his bangs covering his eyes, Naruto lowered his head and clenched his fist until blood dripped from his knuckles, recalling every excruciating beating he had endured at the hands of the villagers. You have no idea what I went through, what I suffered and I had to do to survive those daily beating and torture. You made my life a living hell. You wanted me dead from the start, didn't you? I was to be weak and be used as a scapegoat. I'm supposed to a demon to them and my own family. Is that it? Am I not your son, Minato Kushina? Am I a monster to every one of you? Am I really not worth anything to you? Naruto asked with a voice full of wrath and grief. His question went unanswered. Their shock and fear prevented them from doing so. The mere sight of Naruto made them feel guilty. Then he gazed up at them. They noticed Naruto's lethal glare at them. They felt as though they were witnessing the Shimigami herself, and the murderous intent he was unleashing was even more powerful than the Nine Tails. Even after Naruto removed their paralyzing seals, they were unable to move or even make a sound because they were paralyzed by the glare and the killing intent itself. Naruto pointed at all 6 of them and said, "You know what I'm done with this family and this village, but most I'm done with you," with a venomous tone. Both Minato and Kushina were shocked to hear the words, "You wanted me gone? Fine then. As of this moment I am no longer Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. From now on I am just Naruto, and as of this moment forth you are all dead to me as I am dead to you." In addition to disowning himself from the clan and his role as their son, Naruto believes that they are as dead to him as he is to them. The 2 parents were unsure of what to say, or they were defenseless and unable to speak. When the 4 adults heard this, they were shocked. "I'm leaving this prison and torture facility you call a home and this hellhole of a village, and I will never come back to you even if I'm brought back dead." Naruto was heading out. The village was nothing more than a hellhole where he had endured beatings, torture, and many other atrocities, and the house he lived in for 6 years was nothing more than a prison and a torture facility, and even if he were brought back dead, he would never go back to his family. When Kushina and Tsunade heard this, their eyes widened. "You Kushina are a disgrace to the name Uzumaki as is Tsunade and very Uzumaki in this clan. You broke your word to Lady Mito. You broke your promise and the very thing she kept sacred." The 2 women finally understood what Naruto meant when he said, "The most sacred thing that Lady, Grandma Mito was to never know." This time, Minato and Jiraiya's eyes widened. "That's right, you traitorous bitches. You abandoned the one law all Uzumakis are bound sacred to from the beginning of the clan itself, to never abandon blood. The Uzumaki clan's most revered law, the one law that any Uzumaki would sacrifice their life to defend. They were aware that under no circumstances would the Uzumakis sell out, betray, or desert their family's blood is disowned. When it is abandoned, you will either be expelled from the clan or subjected to intolerable punishment. I've never abandoned my blood, but you have. You broke your promise and now you will pay for it as well. Goodbye. And I pray to Kami that I will never see you again because I'm done living in this hellhole of a house and village. To abandon blood is to disown blood. Those who break this sacred law will never return to endure punishment from the Shimigami herself." Additionally, you are all to blame for what happened to you tonight. The two of you have already signed my death, and I hope you are happy that your burden and demon are leaving and will never return again. Goodbye. You traitorous disgrace to the name Uzumaki bitch. And an embrace to all mothers. Don't bother sending any hunter nin or anbu after me or placing me in the bingo book because I haven't even started in the ninja academy. As they watched Naruto depart without even looking back to give them one last look, every word hit them like poison dripping kunai that went straight through their hearts. Naruto heard Kushina and Minato calling his name in an attempt to persuade him to stay, just as they have disregarded his calls and cries. He has done the same after knocking them out. Naruto turned to leave. They watched as Naruto turned to leave them and vanished into the shadows without even considering what would happen to his former family. He left the Uzumaki clan compound before Flash stepped over to the Uchiha clan compound. Kurama was pleased that Naruto had recovered 5 taels worth of chakra in addition to the item that had been driving him crazy from his chest. However, he was no longer able to detect any demonic presence in his body, soul, or chakra. Naruto's demonic presence was purified during the sealing process, much like his chakra. However, he feels stronger than ever right now. Could it be that before absorbing his chakra again, Naruto's will and chakra were strengthened? Kurama returned to his sleep, certain that he would soon discover the solution. Everyone had assembled at the Uchiha compound for Naruto's departure. When he arrived, Shisui, Masuko, Ichiraku, the Sarutobi, the Haruno, and the Uchiha, everyone was waiting for Naruto to show up. Everyone turned to see what they had not anticipated when the doors opened. Naruto had multiple bruises, his clothes were ripped, and he was covered in blood. Naruto asked Makoto to take a shower before they could find out what had happened. With a nod, she led him to the restroom. Naruto threw away the blood-stained clothes after taking a nice, hot shower and changing into new clothes, then proceeded to the waiting living room. When he first saw Sakura, she threw him into an embrace while examining him for wounds. Sakura has been training as Masuko's apprentice in the medical arts for a considerable amount of time. Because of the training she and Naruto underwent, she was aware that her chakra control was superior to that of a Hyuga. Naruto trained Sakura, Sasuke, and Satsuki in chakra control, sealing arts, trap-making, mastering their elements, becoming one with nature and their elemental nature, becoming stealthy, increasing their speed, strength, stamina, and chakra reserves with and without using the seals Naruto placed on them, and becoming one with nature and their elemental nature in just 2 years. Occasionally, during their training session, the adult Satoshi, Ayame, and Konohamaru, or Little Kono as Naruto would refer to Hima, would also participate and make their own jutsus. And it was undoubtedly very beneficial, particularly for Hiruzen, who was experiencing the same emotions as he had in his heyday. Fire, lightning, wind, and earth are the elements that Sasuke has perfected. Fire, water, wind, and lightning are the elements that Satsuki has perfected. Sakura's mastery of her elemental nature, which includes fire, water, wind, lightning, and earth, was somewhat unexpected, much like Naruto's. Itachi was taken aback when he acquired the elements wind and earth. He now possesses the elements of fire, water, wind, and earth in addition to Shisui, who also acquired Itachi's elemental nature. The same is true for Hiruzen and Asuma, who have inexplicably acquired 2 additional elemental natures. In some way, Asuma acquired earth and lightning, while Hiruzen acquired both water and wind. Masuko, who had only the water element, was shocked to learn that she had acquired 3 more elemental natures: wind, earth, and lightning. During her training with Naruto, Makoto and Fugaku also acquired an extra elemental quality. Fugaku was earth and wind, while Makoto had acquired water and wind. For whatever reason, everyone in Naruto's immediate vicinity has acquired the elemental nature of wind. Nobody knows why, but Naruto always uses wind in his battles when he tests them in their elements. All of them, with the exception of Asuma, who is already a wind user, might have acquired the wind element as a result of a minor chain reaction brought on by Naruto's influence. In any case, it was worthwhile. During their training, Naruto assisted Sasuke and Satsuki in unlocking their Sharingan and taught them to develop their other senses in addition to their eyes. Even Itachi demonstrated to them the importance of developing their senses and instincts rather than relying solely on their eyes. Since then, the group has grown stronger than before. They would spend time learning the fundamentals of survival, kenjutsu, strategy, political negotiating, infiltration, safe weapon handling, combat practice with and without weapons, hunting, medical assistance, cooking, outwitting and outmaneuvering your opponents, and basic information about the village and the 5 great nations from the adults, Masuko, Shisui, and Itachi. Additionally, by using their shadow clones and increasing their chakra reserves, they were able to learn new things more quickly and save time. Particularly for the adults, who essentially expressed gratitude to Naruto for saving them from the paperwork that is the bane of all existence. In all his life, Hiruzen had never felt happier. He explained that Naruto was a gift from Kami himself since he had figured out how to get past the cursed documents. In terms of skill, strength, speed, knowledge, power, and chakra, everyone expected Tucci and Ayame to be above the cage level despite their high level of skill. The 4-6-year-olds lack real-world experience and confrontation, but they will eventually acquire it during their day off. Tucci and Ayame were able to learn some self-defense techniques from the people who had to run their ramen stand. Let's return to the narrative. Sakura became so concerned for him that she stripped him down to his boxers to check for any injuries, cuts, or large gashes. Masuko simply laughed at the antics of her apprentice. Because the girl loved Naruto so much, she made him undress in order to see if he was hurt. However, given that Naruto is attractive, she might have a perverted intuition for doing this. She should wait until he is older. Masuko pictured an older, attractive Sakura forcing an older, handsome Naruto to strip naked and engage in sexually suggestive behavior with him. Then, as she moaned his name and he continued to have his way with her, she pictured her and Itachi doing it. The perverted images began to fill her head, causing her cheeks to flush red and blood to begin dripping from her nose. When Itachi noticed this, she wiped the blood from her nose with a handkerchief. "Thank you," was muttered by Masuko. When Shisui decided to make fun of the couple, Masuko gave him a fist to the back of the head, sending him face first to the ground. She also pouted and puffed her cheeks, making them redder than before, while Itachi and the others just laughed at Shisui's mishap. Since they were genin, Masuko has liked Itachi, but she hasn't expressed her feelings to him. When Shisui started to complain about Masuko's punches, he was hit harder, and this time his face crashed through the floorboards. Shisui wisely stopped talking after that while Sasuke, Satsuki, and Konohamaru were hiding behind their mother and grandfather out of sheer fear of the silver-haired woman's wrath. Itachi took a few steps back, fearing he might be the next to be hit by her punches. Just like Shisui, Kami is the only one who understands how Sakura could tolerate that woman without getting punched. Naruto explained what had happened prior to coming here after putting his clothes back on. He included every detail, particularly the argument he had with his ex-family. Everyone in the room was furious to learn that Naruto had been attacked and labeled a demon for simply beating his brat siblings, but they were also relieved that Naruto had defeated them and voiced his feelings before departing. Sakura questioned him about what would happen if they pursued him. Sakura was right when she asked, in addition to attacking the Hokage, his family, and the two surviving Sannin, he also attacked his own family. Everyone was concerned about this. Naruto promised them that, at least not for a year or two, they would never pursue him. Everybody in the room looked at him suspiciously. He told them that he had erased their memories and replaced them with rogue ninjas who were attacking them. Some of these ninjas had escaped, destroying their comrades' bodies in the process. Naruto described how he created the dead bodies and burned them to make them appear real, as well as how he erected a barrier around his shadow clones and the home of his former family. They were impressed by tricking the Anbu into not pursuing him. Naruto was able to divert suspicion to someone else. Naruto decided it was time to leave after they had dinner and talked. Everyone in attendance agreed to give him a gift for survival and good fortune before they left. First was Sasuke. He had a set of arrows and a bow. Naruto recalled practicing his aim, accuracy, and hunting techniques with Sasuke. After accepting it, Naruto sealed it away. "Sasuke, thank you for bow and arrows. You've been a great rival, but you were more of a brother to me than a rival, and you always will be." Sasuke grinned. Shaking his arm and bumping his fist, he did view Naruto as a member of the Uchiha clan and a brother. "Thank you, Naruto. I know what your previous family did was unforgivable, but you will always have us. We will always be your family. Naruto, come back safe or I'll kick your ass." Naruto didn't say anything but was pleased when he gets back. His family will still be there to greet him. When Sasuke said that, Mikoto and Fugaku grinned. Both Itachi and Satsuki were proud of their brother. Satsuki came next. She gave him a new storage bracelet that she had made especially for him, along with a pair of daggers. The dagger's blade was as black as onyx, and its hilt featured a fox's head with a ruby-like pattern in the middle. Naruto gave her a scroll bearing the symbol for dagger, and said, "Thanks for daggers, Satsuki. I wish I could stay and teach you the new dagger jutsu I made for you, but here, to make it sound cooler, I chose to use symbols rather than kanji." Satsuki took the scroll and said, "Practice this jutsu carefully and use it only when it's truly necessary. Take care, my sweet little sister." Then she kissed Naruto on the cheek and gave him a hug. She loved Naruto but knew Sakura had his heart, but she was never let down because she had a new big brother. "I promise I will fight to protect those I care about. Just come back safe, big brother." Sakura knew that Satsuki loved her as much as she must have loved him. After glancing at the two, she was going to confront her after this to tell her how much she loved Naruto. Sakura didn't mind at all sharing him with Satsuki, so she just hoped Naruto didn't mind if nothing else. Sakura would gladly share Naruto with Satsuki upon his return because she was the only girl she would ever trust with her own life. Shisui and Itachi came next. Shisui gave him a tanto, some genjutsu scrolls, and his teleporting ability, while Itachi gave him a katana and some jutsus he had earned as a bonus from his Anbu missions. Naruto expressed gratitude to them for their gifts after giving them both a hug. Naruto said, "Thanks guys, you two have always been like my big brothers, please watch over them and Sakura until I return." At Naruto's request, they nodded and gave their younger brother a hug. Itachi ruffled his younger brother's hair and said, "We will Naruto, we promise they will be safe until you return." He received a medical kit from Masuko that included all the necessary equipment and medications, as well as a book on human anatomy, human anomaly, basic and advanced medical knowledge, and healing. "Thank you Masuko for all the times you helped save my life and were able to be there when I needed someone. Thank you for being big sister." Masuko gave her younger brother a hug. He gave her a foxy grin and nodded, saying, "Be safe, Naruto, and try not to hurt yourself, okay?" Makoto gave him some of the advanced earth and water-style jutsus she had acquired during the Third Shinobi Wars, along with some cooking supplies and a cookbook, while Fugaku gave him some Uchiha clan fire-style jutsus that he had copied specifically for Naruto and a pair of three-clawed gauntlets that resembled arm bracelets with chakra shields, resembling Logan, Wolverine adamantium claws from X-Men. "Thank you Aunt Makoto, Uncle Fugaku, for all that you have done for me. The two of you have there for me when I needed you most. To me the two of you have been the mother and father I never had. Thank you both so much." Weeping, Makoto clung to Naruto, refusing to let go. Indeed, the young blonde has grown into the son she never had. She has always treated Naruto like her own son ever since he entered their lives. She did everything she could to keep him safe and console him. She even showed him maternal love, something Kushina had not been able to do. When Naruto said that Fugaku was pleased, Naruto was viewed by Fugaku as his own son as well. All he wanted was to have taken Naruto in sooner so that nothing like this would have occurred. In an attempt to soothe his wife, he knelt down and gave his surrogate son a hug. Makoto kissed him on the forehead and wiped her tears away. "Naruto, you will always be like I know you are the son I wish I had. You should dedication, determination, compassion and courage you taught and protected your Nindo and those precious to you. I wish we had taken you in so you never had to go through all that pain and loneliness." She gave him another hug. "Naruto, no matter what you will always be a part of our family," Fugaku stated once more. Naruto thanked them. Next was Hiruzen. He presented Naruto with a bow staff that he and King Enma had created, as well as a map of the elemental nations. A powerful component that is unique to Apes Mountain was used to make the staff. Naruto gave his grandfather, who had been there for him when he needed advice and a confidant, a hug. For Hiruzen, Naruto was like a Noah. He was his grandson. "Thanks Gramps for all you've done. You showed and guided me through a lot that's happened." "Thank you Grandpa." Hiruzen. He knew that leaving the young blonde was the only way to ensure his safety, even though it hurts. Not berating Minato, his family, and his two students for what they did to Naruto was his greatest regret. "Always remember who you are, Naruto, the will of fire, and the love and compassion. Everyone here will be with you until the end. I wish I never allowed this to happen to you. Take care Naruto and be safe my grandson." Naruto gave a wink. He received a survival kit, 2 Thrive knives, and some money from Asuma. Asuma grinned and tousled Naruto's hair, saying, "Thanks Uncle Asuma, I'll be sure to take good care of these." Naruto nodded and said, "Come back safe and stronger than before." Sport. Konohamaru gave his older brother a pair of metal-plated fingerless gloves and a photo of them playing together. "Watch over your sisters and listen to Grandpa and Uncle Asuma until I return. Kono, remember I'll be back to train you myself, I promise, okay?" Konohamaru grinned. Naruto ruffled his younger brother's hair and gave him a hug. As Konohamaru sobbed in his big brother's chest, Naruto remarked, "Take care, little brother, and behave." Even though he didn't want him to leave, it was best for him. A few cooking utensils, a long-sleeved orange-red cloak with black flames at the bottom of the cloak and the edge of the sleeves, and some ramen recipes were the gifts from Tucci and Ayame. "Thanks guys for all the times you allowed me to eat at your stall instead of treating me like every other restaurant and letting me starve. Thank you." Ayame gave the youngster a hug. Ayame nodded as Tucci said, "You take care now Naruto, and remember you're always welcome to our stall anytime." Kazashi and Mebuki came next. They gave him a set of kunai and shuriken, some clothing, a camera, a photo album to record his travels, and a pair of sei connected by a black chain. "Thank you both of you. You accepted me for who I am and not what others see me. You become my second parents aside from Mother Makoto and Father Fugaku. You even allowed me to be with Sakura." Sakura was overcome with emotion when he said that. Everyone laughed when they saw this. "You let me a part of your family, for that I'm grateful. Thank you." Grinning, the two Harunos gave the young blonde a hug. "No Naruto, it is us who should be thanking you. You changed all our lives and you protected and cared for Sakura. Whenever she's with you we know she'll be safe and she has someone watching over her. Come back safe to all of us and to your Sakura." Mebuki replied with a nod. Sakura was last but certainly not least. Naruto nodded and said, "I promise I will." Sakura gave him a new journal, a new guitar because he enjoys singing and writing songs, a heart-shaped locket with a picture of her and Naruto, and something he didn't anticipate. A kiss. When Sakura planted a kiss on Naruto's lips, his eyes widened following a tomato-red embrace between a blushing Sakura and Naruto. Naruto unexpectedly planted a kiss on Sakura this time. Her eyes widened. Hiruzen shielded young Kono's eyes so the 3-year-old wouldn't witness this. "Sakura, you are the first person I've ever cared about. You were the first to accept me for who I am and not what I was. You stood by me ever since we've met. I've trusted you with everything I know and love as you have with me because you are someone more precious to me than my own life. I promise I will come back to you no matter what. Until then here," Naruto said, gazing into Sakura's stunning emerald green eyes. "Consider a rose in the middle of a cherry blossom's 5 petals." The gemstone appeared to be able to be infused together because it was smaller than his locket. He placed the necklace around her neck and said, "I had it made especially for you. I infused it with my chakra so it can't be broken no matter what." Sakura said, "Now channel some of your chakra into the gemstone." The gemstone on her turned dark pink, almost to the color of light red. Everybody stared at it, wondering what was going to happen. "The reason why I asked you to channel your chakra into the gemstone was to put the finishing touches on it." A curious Sakura asked, "What do you mean finishing touches, Naruto?" He pointed to Sakura's necklace and said, "The gemstone was not complete without your chakra. I found some gemstones in a cave while training about a year and a half and noticed these gemstones seemed unique, especially the one you're wearing. These gemstones somehow have the power to bond with a person's chakra and increase spiritual prowess as well as contain the similarity and prowess of the Hashirama Senju's necklace. You and only you are able to wear it unless you willing allow others or someone similar with your chakra and spiritual prowess to wear it." This completely astonished everyone. The power of the gemstone around Sakura's neck was comparable to that of the necklace worn by Hashirama Senju. Furthermore, the necklace could only be worn if Sakura voluntarily permits others or someone who shares her chakra and spiritual abilities to do so. In an attempt to support his theory regarding the gemstone's abilities, Hiruzen asks, "Naruto, are you certain that these gemstones have a similar prowess Hashirama Sensei's necklace?" Naruto gives a nod. "From what I can tell, Kurama was somehow able to sense some of Lord Hashirama's chakra pattern in a similar way within the cave I found the gemstones. He even said that for some reason he felt purified when within the cave, as in whatever demonic presence within him was being purged completely." He also said that powers within these gemstones felt stronger than of Lord Hashirama's. This surprised them. If what Naruto claims is accurate, they need to keep this gem cave safe from people like Danzo who might abuse its power for personal gain. He would undoubtedly seize the chance to assume command of the gemstones and their abilities. "Fortunately, we won't be able to find that cave anymore for some reason. The next day I went looking for it again. It was no longer there, as if it was never there to begin with." Everyone let out a sigh of relief. There would be no more cause for concern if Naruto's statements were accurate. Naruto interrupts Hiruzen before he can ask why, saying, "Grandpa, I need you to summon Lord Enma for me." In a voice they hardly ever heard, Naruto said, "I have a personal request to ask of him and only him. And this one is really important." They could tell it had to be something serious by the way he looked and the tone of his voice. Hiruzen called forth the Monkey King Enma by biting his thumb and waving the hand signals. White fur that peeks out from Enma's sleeves and pants covers his body and tail. He has a goatee, long sideburns, and long white hair that reaches his back. He is dressed in a black suit with mesh armor underneath, which is covered by a sleeveless kimono shirt with white fur trims and tiger-striped markings that are secured with a sash. Enma has a Leaf Village forehead protector on as well. Enma asked his longtime friend and summoner why he had been called. "Hiruzen, may I? Why have you summoned me here? What is your reason?" Enma responded he wanted to know why he had been called. Naruto nodded as the others left the room, leaving just Naruto and Enma. Hiruzen turned to face Enma and said, "Naruto has requested to see you, Enma. He has something to you and only you, Naruto. Once you're finished let us know. We will be waiting in the other room." The Monkey King had developed feelings for the young blonde after Hiruzen had introduced him to Naruto, and Naruto had assisted Enma in getting his strength back to its peak. Even some of the mountain apes received assistance from Naruto. When Enma saw Naruto, he grinned. Enma has always liked having Naruto around. "So Naruto, what is it that you wanted to talk to me about?" "Lord Enma, I have a request to ask of you." Enma was totally taken aback by this. Lord was only ever used by Naruto when he had something serious to discuss, and Enma could tell by the tone of his voice that Naruto was in a serious mood at the moment. Naruto pulled a scroll from his pocket. Several documents, pictures, videos, and a small pouch emerged. When he opened it, what was in the pouch intrigued Enma. Within this pouch there are several gemstones I have collected from a cave I discovered a year and a half ago. This was not any ordinary cave. Kurama's demonic soul was 100% purified when we entered the cave. He no longer has any demonic presence within him after that. But the next day we couldn't find it anywhere. This pouch contains some of the gemstones from the cave. Enma couldn't believe his ears. Naruto had been to the fabled crystal gemstone cave. Only those with a pure heart will be selected to enter the cave and be permitted to take a specific quantity of its gemstones with them, according to rumors that it only opens up once every 100 years. Naruto had seized a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There was so much spiritual and holy energy in the cave that no demon or person with bad intentions could withstand its power and would be discovered dead. Given that Naruto was Kurama's Jinchuriki, its powers not only allowed him to survive but also purify him. Additionally, it was said that the first Hokage Hashirama Senju was the last person to see the cave. Naruto looked at him curiously and asked, "Naruto, do you know what these are?" Enma started to describe the contents of the gemstones in his hands, saying, "No, Master Enma, I don't, but I do know that these aren't ordinary gemstones, right, seeing as they can infuse themselves with chakra and spiritual powers with one wearing it. Naruto, you have been given the opportunity of a lifetime. These gemstones came from the crystal gemstone cave. It is rumored to reveal itself to the one that has the purest heart once every 100 years. Naruto was taken aback by this. Although he had read stories about them, he never imagined that he would have the opportunity to see one. That's not all from what I can tell. When you must have been exposed to the huge amounts of spiritual energy within the cave, it has most likely made you completely immune to anything demonic, but also with you absorbing in as much of it as you could, the energy within the cave allowed your body to be healed by the same energy that purified Kurama completely. Seeing that Kurama had no evil intentions or reasons, and with you being his Jinchuriki, he was able to survive the powers and might of the cave, otherwise he would be dead. Naruto stared at Enma with wide eyes as he plates while Kurama's eyes were nearly sticking out of his skull. He had no idea that it would be feasible. He was aware that his siblings were not endowed with Kurama's healing power, but even in the absence of his chakra, Kurama is still able to summon nature energy or Naruto's chakra to transform into his own, enabling him to fully heal Naruto. Kurama's chakra would become unstable, destructive, and useless in the absence of the soul and body. It will never give them the authority and appropriate application to manage his chakra. He now learns that Kurama's healing powers have multiplied tenfold since their visit to Crystal Gemstone Cave. It was really incredible. However, the idea of Kurama, his mentor and friend, passing away or even being murdered terrified him. If Kurama were dead, he had no idea what he would do. With a more serious tone, Enma inquired, "Now then, what is it that you really wanted to talk to me about?" When Naruto reached for another scroll and opened it, a bracelet-like gauntlet with the Monkey Clan symbol and a half-inch white gemstone in the middle emerged. The chakra-enhancing steel used to make the gauntlet allows the wearer to strike their opponent with greater strength and power. Additionally, it can store chakra for use in an emergency. "Master Enma, I made this especially for you. This will help you in the upcoming battles. Should you need a chakra boost, all you have to do is add as much chakra as you need into the gemstone, but I suggest you add some of your chakra into the gemstone after putting it on." Enma accepted the gift, put it on his right arm, and followed Naruto's instructions. Naruto went on to explain why Enma thanked him for the gift and agreed to the plan. Naruto sealed everything back into the scroll and gave it to Enma, saying, "Now then, I would take these gemstones and all these other stuff with you. Please keep them safe until I return. Promise me you will only hand them back once I've returned." When Naruto said, "Until he returns," Enma was intrigued. With his bangs covering his eyes and tears beginning to trickle down his cheeks, Naruto lowered his head and asked, "Naruto, what do you mean by until you return?" When Enma saw this, she realized something was amiss. He must have been unaware of something that had occurred earlier today. He knew he would eventually have to tell Naruto what happened. Also, why were all of us gathered here in the Uchiha clan compound? Therefore, he should have known before he left. Naruto filled Enma in on all of today's events. From his banishment and rejection to the battle he waged against his old family. When Enma heard this, especially the part about Naruto being beaten and attacked by his own family, she became extremely enraged. The fact that his parents had signed their own son's death, however, infuriated him even more. Enma was completely appalled by the actions of the Uzunamis since Orochimaru's escape. When Hiruzen failed to kill the damned snake, Enma hasn't been this irate. "Naruto, I promise, as the Monkey King of the Apes, I vow to protect these with my life." Naruto gave a nod. "Thank you, Master Enma. I have one final request. Should anything were to happen to me, anything at all, I will write it in a letter addressed to you explaining what must be done." Enma gave the young woman a hug. I know you must be hurt from what they did to you, but remember Naruto, we will always be here for you. With a stern expression on his face, Enma agreed as Naruto closed the barrier and left the room. Thank you Enma, now let's get back to the others, we've been in here for quite some time now. Hiruzen, is it true? Was Naruto exiled and disowned by blood and legal rights from his clan? Enma was enraged and said, I'm afraid so, old friend. How could such a thing occur? Particularly to Naruto, who hasn't done anything to merit this. Enma chose to clarify the conversation between him and Naruto after he had calmed down, with the exception of the final detail when they learned that Naruto had visited the fabled crystal gemstone cave and that Sakura's neckpiece was one of those gemstones. They were a little taken aback. Naruto sealed everything in a newly created storage seal in his right arm, saying, well, I guess it's time. This prevented anyone from stealing anything from him. He turned to face the people who had supported, loved, and believed in him. Each of them received 100 sets of seals and tags from Naruto, which they can use for both personal and professional purposes, and they reached their current position because of his creative design and way of thinking. After giving Sakura one last embrace and kissing her forehead, Naruto gazed into her dazzling emerald eyes. The rosette reddened slightly. How could she ever forget that day? Sakura, it was because of you that I've become as strong as I am right now. Do you remember the first day we met? The best day of her life was the day she met her blonde lover. Since then, she has grown stronger, more self-assured, and more mature. She even met the one person who would be her lifelong companion and her knight in shining armor. Yes, Naruto, you were the one who saved me from those bullies and prevented me from being a shuriken practice dummy. Naruto gave a nod. The statement, yes, that's true Sakura, but it was actually you who saved me, made everyone stare at him in confusion. To say that everyone in the room was completely shocked would be an understatement. On that very day I was already prepared to end my own life. Naruto was prepared to commit suicide to end his own life after meeting Sakura. Sakura was hearing things she couldn't believe. Naruto wanted to end his own life. A life without him was unimaginable to her. The foxy grin, the determined expression, the warm smile, and the fact that he never gives up and is prepared to defend the people he cares about. Without him, she wouldn't even be here. While some of them were stunned to hear Naruto say something like that, others were thinking along with the line. It was Sakura who finally broke the silence. Naruto, why could you say something like that? Caught everyone off guard, she took hold of his shirt collar and began to tremble like a rag doll. Makoto and Mebuki attempted to step in, but Naruto's glance instantly stopped them. Sakura's heart pounded as he cried, why would you have wanted to kill yourself? Aren't we your family? Aren't we people who care? If so, then why Naruto? Why? In an attempt to soothe his rosette, Naruto gave her a hug. They had the right to know, but he knew something like this would Sakura in particular. He was no longer able to keep it to himself or continue without telling them. She had previously come dangerously close to losing him, but she and everyone else needed to know how it started. As he soothes Sakura, Naruto says, I'm sorry, Sakura, I know it hurts, but I needed you all to know the truth about that day, especially the reason why I wanted to end my life. On that day before we met, I went over to Minato and Kushina for the 97th time and asked if they could train me. They said no. I felt them giving me the cold shoulder, but when I asked if we could get something to eat, they said okay. I felt happy when they accepted to eat with me. After so long I practically ignored the glares the villagers were giving me because I had finally been able to the two people I wanted to spend some time with. As we walked up to the restaurant, Jiraiya and Tsunade walked up and started talking about the stupid prophecy and how it was Natsumi and Menma who were the saviors and bullshit. Makoto grabbed him by the ear and said, Naruto, watch your language, young man. She grinned and gave him a quick pat on the cheeks, saying, I'm sorry mom. It's okay, just don't use that sort of in front of Kono again, alright? Naruto gave a nod, then he had a dejected expression on his face. As I was saying, after they finished, the four of them started to leave. I felt heartbroken. It took months of trying to convince them at the very least spend even a little time with me. Even that would have been more than enough to see that at least they care for me, but no, it came crashing down when that idiotic perverted toad Jiraiya and disgraceful insult to the senju named drunk Tsunade came along. He began to cry. They just had to be there and ruin everything. It always ends the same way with anything that involves me, is completely forgotten, as if I was never there to begin with. They were about to leave, but I tried to stop and convince them to stay for at least a little while. Minato and Kushina wanted me to understand that training those two eyesores and whining brats were more important than anything else. 2 years prior, a 4-year-old Naruto was attempting to persuade his parents to at least eat lunch with him in the restaurant's private booth rather than leaving him behind so they could concentrate on training his siblings. But Mum, you and Dad always have been spend time with Natsumi and Menma and do stuff like this. The two of you even train them while I get nothing. Why am I always left alone? Why is that I'm always left out? Naruto began to cry. The only thing he truly desired was to at least spend some time with his parents. In an attempt to calm him down and persuade him to let go of training his siblings, Minato said, "Naruto, you have to understand why we are doing this. If what Jiraiya-sensei says is true, then we need to prepare them so they could save the world." In an attempt to swiftly begin Natsumi and Menma's training, Kushina dismissed him, saying, "Your father's right, Naruto. If we need to train them so they could protect you and everything else, they could even end up helping you in the end. Besides, this is more important than some lunch. It's not even going to mean anything." The remarks made by his mother wounded Naruto. Then he noticed a tiny sparkle in their eyes for them. It was just a way out. It must be that. All of this was merely a pretext for them to believe so they could escape him. Did he truly have no value beyond being an annoyance and a diversion from their idyllic existence? At least Naruto didn't give a damn. He stated that if he wants to spend time with them, he will do so. Naruto cried out, "I don't want those two to protect me. I don't care what happens to them, even if they did die." His pupils were nearly transformed into fox slits, and his eyes were flashing red. With a growl, Tsunade said, "Enough of this." Her patience was beginning to wear thin for some reason. Naruto gave her a glare that nearly made her wince, but he turned away. The two Sannin simply nodded and continued, saying, "You two go on first, Kushina, and I will check up to you." With a disappointed expression on his face, Minato turned to face Naruto. "Naruto, we know you want to have lunch with us, but your siblings are our main priority. Like what your pervy godfather said, they could not only end up protecting you but the whole village as well. We promise we'll be back as soon as possible," said Minato before leaving the restaurant. Kushina gave Naruto a hug and said, "So behave and wait for us here until we come back, okay, sweetie?" Naruto kept waiting for his parents to return so they could have dinner together. There had been no sign of them for hours. Despite his extreme hunger, he was prepared to wait in order to eat with his parents. The demon brat was not even bothered or cared for by the restaurant staff. They don't care as long as he keeps quiet and doesn't interfere with their business. It was already nighttime and almost time for closing when Naruto realized they wouldn't be arriving. As he made his way home through the chilly night, Naruto felt something strike the back of his head and collapsed. As he fell to the ground, he noticed a rock with a small amount of red liquid on it. He noticed that the liquid was his blood when he touched the back of his head. Naruto said to himself in a whisper, "Whoa, who threw that?" When he slowly turned around, he saw a group of irate villagers holding large sticks and rocks. The evil expression in their eyes was visible to him now. He was truly afraid. A man shouted as the mob charged at him, "There is nowhere to run, demon. You want affection? Then we'll show you the best affection that you and only you so likely deserve." Naruto screamed for his life and attempted, but was unable, to escape from them. They began beating him like a Pia plus or minus auto with their sticks. After throwing rocks at him, the mob beat him up for nearly an hour before abandoning him in a dim alley. Naruto was limping home after being beaten with blood. His dried up blood was all over his body and head. The blood was beginning to wash off his body as it began to rain. He was hungry, wet, cold, and hurting. Why doesn't this surprise me? Like they always do, they simply left me as usual. They're probably considering punishing me in some way. He eventually approached his house. His parents were standing there when the front door opened. As he arrived at the porch, their expressions were severe. He was scolded by Kushina, who yelled, "Where the hell were you? Do you what time it is?" The villagers are shouting at Naruto for arriving home late after beating him to a bloody pulp. Normal Kushina and Minato never consider the reason for his tardiness, always act hastily when something similar occurs. Naruto couldn't even respond because he was in so much pain. The two did what they always do to him because they knew he wouldn't respond to them. They disciplined him. Kushina forewarned Naruto that he would be sleeping outside tonight if he didn't respond to us immediately. Naruto was caught off guard by this. It was fall, and anyone with a brain should be aware that a child, regardless of age, would not be able to endure the bitterly cold autumn nights, especially when it was pouring heavily. They were only making things worse for him while he was freezing his ass out there. Naruto wanted to sob uncontrollably. For the past year and a half, he has been in pain, and he wanted his parents to help him stop it. Minato merely let out a sigh looking at Naruto. He realized that it was already very late and that nothing was progressing. He made the decision to end this. He slammed the door shut and turned on the barrier and security seals. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but you left us with no other option because you're still being stubborn. Let's go, Kushina." Naruto was incredulous. They succeeded. In fact, they locked him out in the bitterly cold rain. Because the barrier extends all the way to the house's front gate, he was unable to even sleep on the porch. Naruto needed to find a place to sleep away from the freezing rain. He went to an alley with a ripped blanket, a shabby pillow, and 2 big boxes. With haste, he entered one of the boxes containing the blanket and pillow. He also discovered some milk, fish, and noodles that had just been thrown out. He ate them ravenously. After taking them into the box, tears began streaming down his cheeks while he was eating. Why'd I always have to endure this kind of suffering? Cammy, Why? How could I have earned this? On this chilly, wet night, he began to cry in the box. Even though the cold was making him shiver, he was able to sleep it off until morning. Without anyone noticing, Naruto entered the house and hurried to his room once the security barriers and seals were removed. Naruto's bedroom was the smallest of all the others. The room was larger than a closet and located at the edge of the hall. His bed consisted of a broken-down mattress, a rock-hard pillow, paper-thin, torn-up bedsheets and covers, and an old mattress with multiple springs protruding. There are only 2 books on the tiny bookshelf. The only other pieces of furniture were a cupboard for his clothes and a table and chair in the room's corner by the window. Even his bathroom was somewhat narrow and too small for the typical adult. There were numerous cracks in his walls and ceiling, and some licking pipes from the ceiling allowed moss and moles to grow. The room lacked any color that would make it appear to be a room, including toys, posters, and jutsu scrolls. It was gloomy and plain white, but at least it was spotless. It was not so much a room as it was a prison. Naruto heard laughter as he went to grab a bite to eat after taking a shower. Then he heard his parents and godparents discussing the prophecy and their upcoming family getaway. They were completely unaware that Naruto was hearing everything they had to say. Only Minato and Kushina remained after Jiraiya and Tsunade removed the twins. He heard his parents discussing him as he was about halfway down. Minato, what are we going to do about Naruto? He's never going to be a proper ninja or clan heir if he keeps doing what he does. I mean, look at how disrespectful he's been. He acts like a spoiled brat, sometimes like yesterday when he didn't even bother to answer us to where he was at that late hour. Kushina stated to her husband. Minato frowned as he cast a glance at her. What do you expect, Kushina? He's always nagging us, trying to make us train him when we have to prepare Natsumi and Menma for the prophecy, like Jiraiya-sensei said. If we train Naruto, then we won't be able to train them and the prophecy won't come true. Besides, we could always train him after he graduates or something like that. There is also the fact he disturbs and causes trouble for the villagers and pulls pranks on them. I received a lot of complaints about broken property and goods because of him. If this is his way of getting our attention, then he's not getting any train or gifts for his birthday, Kushina grumbled. She was aware that Minato was correct regarding the prophecy and that it was their responsibility to prepare the future's saviors. However, there was also the Naruto problem. Kushina occasionally questions what to do with the boy. He doesn't ever hear them. He consistently causes trouble for them and the villagers, and he always arrives home late. She simply doesn't know how to stop him from becoming a ninja or how to both reprimand and punish him. She was unsure of what to pick. Every word his parents said was heard by Naruto, who was standing at the staircase. How could they claim that he was the troublemaker and spoiled? As usual, he is at fault even though he has done nothing wrong. The scapegoat was always him for everything except being ignored, beaten, and blamed. You are always forgotten. A stab of pain shot through his heart. He has never intentionally tried to make things look bad or caused trouble for anyone. His 2 siblings and a few of the villagers are to blame for those shortcomings. They frequently use him as a scapegoat or hold him accountable for actions he did not take. Why am I hated by all? Did I truly deserve to experience such things? I never once received a gift for my birthday or any other similar occasion. With tears streaming down his face, he thought, the only gifts I have ever received were multiple beating and abuse. The tone was a little harsh, but Minato said, you know, Kushina, even though he's our son, I wish Naruto would just shut up about things and his training. When Naruto heard his father say that, he winced. Additionally, Kushina wanted to talk to her about Naruto. Yeah, that's true. Naruto does continuously annoy us with asking us to train him and spend some time with him. Why can't that boy ever understand that we will train him when he's ready and that no means no? Sometimes he doesn't stop. Something I wish he'd behave. Sometimes I just him to stop bothering us. And sometimes take responsibility for his action. And sometimes be grateful for all the things we've done for him. Then people around him will show respect and not complain as such. Sometimes I'd wish he'd just listen to what we say. Sometimes I wish he'd stop being a burden, and stop lying to us and being a nuisance to everyone. Sometimes I just wish he'd. The 2 stared into each other's eyes and said the exact words that would leave their son emotionally damaged. Sometimes I just wish he'd. They both said at the same time, there are times when I wish he would just go away entirely. What Naruto had just heard was unbelievable. He felt as though a hot kunai had pierced his heart and chest. He taught his parents to love no matter what, but after hearing what they had just said, he was at his breaking point. He was truly viewed by them as an annoyance and a burden. Any beating, torture, or experiment that he had undergone was nothing compared to the agony he was experiencing at the moment. Now, he had lost all hope that his parents would still accept him. Minato noticed that he was already running late when he checked the time as Kushina prepared to meet her friends and buy dinner for tonight. He snatched up his cloak, kissed his wife, and hurried to the Hokage Tower. Naruto had been listening to everything the 2 had said about him, but they had not noticed he rushed to his room and sobbed uncontrollably on his pillow. Why does this keep happening to me? They hate me, they really hate me. Why do they always view me as a burden rather than their son? As he sobbed uncontrollably until he passed out, he yelled in his head the betrayal of his parents. Still hurt his heart. Naruto woke up from his emotionally ruined sleep after sobbing for hours. His eyes were lifeless, they were simply emotionless and hollow. He gave advice on what he ought to do. Now what am I going to do? They despise me, they all despise me. I really am the only person in this world. Everyone wants me dead, and nobody wants me. I might grant their wish, it's not as if I will be missed or anything, he reflected. Well, Minato and Kushina wanted me gone then, so whatever. Before leaving the Uzumaki clan compound, he wrote a letter to them on the table in his room. After getting up and heading for the door on his way to the summit of the Hokage monument, he strolled through the village, perhaps after giving the village one last glance before bidding it farewell forever. He observed that the majority of the villagers were silently referring to him as a demon brat, spawn of the Nine Tails, or monster, while glaring at him. He was no longer concerned. It didn't matter what they thought of him because he was going to die. He saw a cute girl approaching the other children as he passed. The girl had bangs on both sides and short pink rosette hair. Large forehead, fair skin, and emerald green eyes. She wore a light green dress with cherry blossoms printed on it, sandals, and a red ribbon around her head. For some reason, Naruto was unable to look away from her. A slight flush came over his face, butterflies began to form in his stomach, and his heart began to beat more rapidly. She appeared to be glowing because she was standing in the direction of the sun. As seen from Naruto's perspective, he adored every moment of the pink rosette's captivating beauty. However, he suddenly recalled something. He is incapable of loving her or anyone. What am I doing? I am unable to be here. Why am I still waiting here when nobody wants me? It would be best if nobody remembered me at all. He was about to leave when he heard someone sobbing. Not like they would miss or anything. He turned to see the pink-haired girl sobbing while the other children were calling her names and hurling rocks at her. For some reason, Naruto felt anger rising in his chest that he had to keep her safe. He thought she was going through what the villagers did to him every day. However, he also wanted to know if he should get involved. Even though he is aware that it is none of his business, he felt compelled to take action. But regardless of what happened to him, he jumped in to protect her when he saw the shuriken in the attacking boy's hand. He tackled the boy to the ground and swiftly moved between them, saying, I don't care what happens, I won't let her or anyone else go through what I've been through. Sakura blushed when Naruto angrily remarked, don't you know it's wrong to bully a cute and defenseless girl? Especially when you're using a weapon like that shuriken to attack someone who can't defend themselves, you cowards. The young man stood up and gave Naruto a furious look. He lunged at Naruto, but Naruto blocked and countered by flipping the boy in question and flinging him to the ground, saying, how dare you attack us? I'll make you pay. Two boys then charged at Naruto, but Naruto dodged them and punched them in the stomach instead. Then he gave one of them an uppercut and kicked the other. They were both on the floor. When Naruto saw that the first had risen and charged at him, he tripped and fell, landing close to an iron pole. Then Naruto focused on Amy. Amy simply nodded and fled, the boys trailing behind, as he approached her and said, if I ever see bullying anyone ever again, you will end up just like them, understand? After that, Naruto focused on Sakura, who was still in tears. There was a small cut on her head, and her dress and forehead were covered in dirt and scratches. Naruto cautiously walked up to the girl who was crying. As he began to clean up and wipe away any dirt and wounds, he said, are you okay? Those bullies are gone now, they won't hurt you anymore. Here, let me help you. Naruto blushed as he turned to face her. Wow, she's adorable, and her forehead adds even more cuteness. Sakura asked in fear, are you going to make fun of my forehead too? A curious Naruto questioned, why would I make fun of your forehead? She started crying and said, because everyone likes to make fun of it for being, they say I look like a freak with it. Naruto, however, had a different opinion. With a foxy grin, an enthusiastic Naruto said, but I like your forehead, it makes you look cute. Sakura blushed uncontrollably. Naruto then planted a kiss on her forehead, saying, in fact your forehead is so cute and charming it makes me want to kiss it every time I see it. As red as a tomato. Sakura was, in addition to saving her from those bullies, the blonde gave her a nice kiss on the forehead and called her cute. Sakura was at a loss for what to do. As he helped her up, she turned to face her savior. By the way, we never introduced ourselves, did we? I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I'm Sakura Haruno. Naruto, who truly enjoyed having a friend with the adorable pink rosette, said, it's a pleasure to meet you. Would you like to be my friend, Sakura? She gave him a sweet smile that caused the boy with the blonde hair to blush a little and said, yes, I would very much like to be your friend, Naruto. Returning to the present, ever since that day I didn't care what happened to me. I promised myself that I would protect you no matter what. When I first told you I had Kurama's body and soul sealed inside me, I thought you would treat me like all the other villagers would or run away, but you didn't. You didn't see me or treat me as such. You told me that I was who I am, that I was someone who you truly cared about. That brought me out of my despair, loneliness, loveless and lifeless self to having someone I am and willing to give my life to protect and care for the rest of my life. He embraced her with tears streaming down his face. Sakura was shocked to hear, "Thank you, my rosette angel." Had they never met, would Naruto have been like that? Somewhere, dead and alone, nobody would have cared. Tears began streaming down her cheeks as well, and she gave him a tight embrace. Naruto had experienced so much betrayal and hell that it had driven him to consider suicide. Naruto was able to develop his strength, love, and willingness to defend those he cared about because of her. Although she was unaware, Sakura was now more than happy to accompany him until the end of time, as he is her pillar of strength. She will remain his. The moment has come for him to venture out into the unknown. Before they took a group photo that appeared to show them as one large, happy family, Naruto made Sakura make a promise to him. Sakura gazed into those blue sapphire eyes that made her want to stare into them forever. "Sakura, promise me you will never stop training to become stronger no matter what, to protect those you care about and be there for them through thick and thin." She gives a nod. "I promise, Naruto, I will never stop training to become stronger no matter what. I will protect those you care about and I will be there for them through thick and thin. But you have to promise me two things, Naruto. One is that you to come back home safe and stronger than ever in." She embraced Satsuki with a smirk on her lips. She blushed slightly and said, "You have to take Satsuki and me out on a date and let us be your wives when we're older, and don't worry, I'm willing to share you with Satsuki." Sakura requests that Naruto go on a date with her and Satsuki and allow them to become his wives. All except Fugaku, Makoto, Itachi, and Naruto were taken aback by this. Makoto was the first to observe Satsuki's blush and behavior when Naruto was present. She was always certain that Satsuki had made the right decision in choosing a protector and lover. She also explained that because Sakura was a member of the Uchiha family and had a strong bond with Naruto, she would voluntarily allow Satsuki to be close to him. However, Sakura is now willing to share Naruto with Satsuki, who was blushing profusely. A few months ago, Fugaku and Itachi worked it out. They were able to solve the puzzle. In addition, it was clear how much their sister or daughter loved the blonde. And they were aware that Naruto would be the one to keep her safe and make her happy. However, Naruto was aware of Satsuki's love for him. The problem was that he had begun to feel something for the Uchiha heiress as well, but he didn't want to offend Sakura or Satsuki by appearing to be unfaithful because he couldn't reciprocate her feelings for him. However, Sakura has now stated that she is open to sharing him with Satsuki. He is aware now that he can express his love for them both without causing harm to either of them. Sakura had just stated that she was willing to share Naruto with him and that she wanted to be one of his wives when they grew up, which still made Satsuki flush. Satsuki stammered, "Saw Sakura, what are you doing?" Sakura's eyes were fixed on her with resolve. "Isn't it obvious, Satsuki? I want you to be able to love Naruto as much as I do without having to hide it or show it to him. Besides, I know how much you love Naruto, as I can tell Naruto feels the same way too, right, Naruto?" Sakura replied with a smirk. Naruto simply nodded, amazed that Sakura could figure him out so quickly. Perhaps she was more familiar with him than he realized. "It's true, Satsuki, I do have feeling for you just like Sakura's, but the reason why I didn't approach you is because I didn't want to be the cause of your fights in the future. I don't want the two of you to break the bond you share with each other because of your feeling towards me. I don't want my new family being torn apart because of it, but now I'm more than willing to accept your feeling, as I know that now I won't have to worry hurting either of your feelings," Naruto said as he wrapped his arms around her and gently prodded Satsuki into kissing the blonde. Satsuki kept kissing him while blushing even more because he didn't want his presence to destroy Sakura and Satsuki's bond. Naruto was hesitant to express his feelings for her. More than anything else, he wanted them to be a family and always be friends now that his daughter could love the only person she really cared about. Fugaku was crying anime style. The new couples made everyone else very happy. Naruto gave the two girls a final embrace after they broke up their kiss. Before gathering his belongings, he said, glancing at the two girls. Kono called out to him before he could leave, saying, "I guess it's time. I promise I will come back to you, both of you and everyone else in this room. That's a promise of a lifetime." Kono asked his big brother, "Big bro, could you sing us a last song before you go? I really want to hear you sing, please." Naruto has always been admired by Konohamaru, who occasionally views him as a surrogate father. Whenever Kono needed him, he was there for him as he tousled the young boy's hair. Naruto grinned. As everyone else sat down to listen to him sing, he pulled out the guitar Sakura had given him and said, "Sure thing, little brother. Westlife, Unbreakable, took my hand, my heart was touched. Kept me close, you were there all the time by my side. Day and night throughout it all, perhaps, whatever happens. A wave of emotion carried them away, overtaken in the storm's center. Additionally, whenever you grin, it's hard for me to believe you are mine. Have faith that you are mine, this love cannot be broken. It's obvious. Additionally, every time I gaze into your eyes, I understand why this love cannot be touched. My heart seems to be unable to resist. Every time I gaze into your eyes, I understand why, sweetie. This love cannot be broken. Laughed together, tears were shared. Both of us are aware we'll continue after this. Because we are stronger when we work together within my arms. You belong there, the hands of an angel have touched me. The power of love has been a blessing to me. Additionally, whenever you grin, it's hard for me to believe you are mine, this love cannot be broken. It's obvious. Every time I gaze into your eyes, I understand why. This love cannot be touched. My heart seems to be unable to resist. Every time you mumble my name, I understand why, sweetie. This love cannot be broken through flame and fire. When everything is finished, we are still in love. This love cannot be broken. It's obvious. Additionally, every time I gaze into your eyes, I understand why this love cannot be touched. My heart seems to be unable to resist every time you mumble my name. I understand why, sweetie, because I always look into your eyes. I understand why, sweetie, this love cannot be broken. Song end. When Naruto finished singing the lovely song, everyone applauded and clapped. After hearing the lovely song, Enma, Makoto, Mebuki, and Kazashi started crying. As he left the Uchiha clan compound, Naruto once more sealed his belongings and bid them farewell. As he left the gates, he gave the village one final look of rage after hearing his new family say, "Good luck, Naruto. Take care and come back strong. We'll be waiting for you." Naruto felt that he was being pursued after a few miles. When he realized this, he sped through the trees, but 3 root ninja caught him off guard as he arrived at a clearing. One of them knocked Naruto out as he struggled to free himself. The group leader sealed Naruto's chakra after saying, "Lord Danzo will be pleased that we have his new weapon. Now let's get back before someone notices." Danzo was waiting for his men to report in as they reached the underground root facility, which was a secret. As they entered with Naruto following, he maintained a stoic expression. Danzo turned to look at Naruto, who was unconscious, and said, "Lord Danzo, we have the Nine-Tails brat just as you ordered, sir." He smiled, knowing that he would soon turn him into one of his root Anbu. The root nin immediately led him into the sealing room, where Danzo would apply his seal on his new recruits and transform them into his mindless drones, after saying, "Excellent work, Hawk, Tiger, and Monkey. Now bring him to the sealing room where we will begin the preparations." The special ink needed for the preparation was being prepared. The flammable material used to make the ink will burn the skin slightly and stay there until Danzo or a seal master removes it. It won't leave any burn marks either. They were unaware that Naruto had awakened and had begun to quietly leave the room. He was tackled down by a root Anbu that sneaked up behind him before he could escape. After struggling to free himself from the Anbu's hold, Naruto destroyed the ink bottle before the others could apply the inked brush to him. Because of the candles in the rooms, it spilled through some of the paperwork and caught fire. More root nin were pursuing Naruto, and the fire he started was rising and burning through everything, making it difficult for him to break free. While Danzo called on all of the root nin to apprehend and hold Naruto at all costs, some of the nin were busy extinguishing the flames. Abruptly, the building was rocked by a massive explosion. The blast caught Danzo and his men. Danzo had flammable materials to make his special seal ink, which is what caused the explosion. Naruto swiftly climbed through an escape hatch he had discovered. From the outside, a number of ninjas and bystanders were not aware of the explosion or the raging fire emanating from the deserted buildings. When Naruto left, he had a hard time standing up again. The explosions caused him to sustain cuts, bruises, and 2-degree burns. He saw the building on the far side of the village collapse, totally destroying Danzo's base, and the root base being consumed by the flames. Naruto was incredulous. Danzo had passed away. He no longer had to be concerned about Danzo threatening his family or root nin pursuing him. As some ninjas and civilians noticed the smoke and came to investigate, Naruto began to slowly retreat from the destroyed structure. Some of them, who would sometimes beat him up, were familiar to Naruto. He was aware that he needed to leave as soon as possible to avoid being noticed. Naruto felt his left leg once more after walking a few blocks. Naturally, he made a loud noise as he crashed into some trash cans. A few bystanders who were nearby came to look into it. To their surprise, it turned out to be Naruto. With a kunai in his hand, one of them charged at Naruto and yelled, "Demon, today you die." As he ran past them, Naruto sidestepped soon after. More began to appear as Naruto kept running in fear for his life in an alley. They cornered him before Naruto could fight his way out. He was knocked unconscious and taken into an abandoned warehouse, where he was raped, tortured, beaten, made to drink petroleum, and hanged naked. The flashback's end before fainting. Naruto opened his eyes and recalled everything that had transpired. The room door opened as he was leaning on the pillow, and 7 people entered. The first was a 27-year-old male physician with pink eyes and spiky silver hair. He had pale skin and a hint of muscle. He had on a doctor's coat, white boots, a star pendant around his neck, and a silver jumpsuit with the initial of an upside-down triangle, a blue crystal, and odd symbols. The second individual was a 42-year-old man. He had green eyes, long blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, a somewhat tanned complexion, and a lot of muscle. He wore a silver-gray officer uniform with matching pants. He had an insignia of the high-ranking officer on his right chest and multiple badges on each shoulder. He had an outward belt around his uniform and a black boot. The next individual was a male, age 23. He had brown eyes, pale skin, a well-built body, and light blue hair with green highlights. He was dressed in a black t-shirt, red leather pants, black boots, a red jacket with whitish silver accents, and the same insignia as the officers and doctors, with a number 1 logo at the back of the jacket and in between the insignia. The next individual was a male, age 24. He was a tall, blonde, well-built man with red eyes and sun-tanned skin. He had on a blue jacket, leather pants, black boots, and a white shirt. His jacket had the same pattern as the red one, but it had purple and violet accents and the number 2 emblem. The next was a bold, muscular, dark-skinned, 27-year-old man with brown eyes. He had the same blue-haired man's outfit, boots, and green highlights, but his pants and jacket were green with dark blue accents and the number 3 insignia on the jacket. This 23-year-old woman had fair skin, a slim figure with C-cup breasts, pink eyes, and long pink hair that reached her mid-back. She was dressed in the same pink leather pants and jacket as the blue-haired man with the number 5 insignia, as well as a red t-shirt with an imprint of a winter resort. She also had on a pair of pinkish white boots and fingerless gloves. The final individual was a woman with blonde hair, age 22. She was slender, slightly curvaceous, and had C-cup breasts. She also had fair skin and green eyes. He was dressed in a yellow turtleneck t-shirt, a leather jacket with white and black accents, yellow pants with the number 5 insignia, and yellowish-black boots. After reviewing the report on the holographic clipboard by Naruto's bed, the doctor was shocked to discover that Naruto was completely healthy. After glancing at the physician, the commanding officer inquired. The commander, worried about Naruto's well-being, said, "Well, Michael, what does the report say? Is this boy going to be all right?" The physician said, glancing from his clipboard to the commander. "There's nothing to worry about, Commander Williams. The boy is perfectly all right. It may have taken a week for us to remove the gunk, especially the organ-destroying poison that was injected into him, and repair his internals and heal his wounds without damaging any major organs in his body, but from this report here it says he's fully recovered but is in need of a 2-day bed rest. There is no permanent damage done to him that would cripple him in the future." The physician stated. The others let out a sigh of relief. There was no need for concern. When Naruto turned to face them, he saw their relief and happiness at being safe. However, it was unclear who these individuals were and why he was present. An orange blur rushed through the door and jumped into Naruto's lap. Before he could ask anything, Naruto recognized it instantly, and his eyes widened. The little orange fox was adorable and fluffy, with red eyes, black markings on the back of its head, the tips of its ears, and 9 tails. Naruto recognized the person. "Kurama, is that you?" the small fox asked, nodding. With tears streaming down his cheeks, Naruto gave the small fox a hug and said, "Yes, Kit, it's really me." He was ecstatic his friend was doing fine. He was terrified that he wouldn't see him ever again. He sobbed and said, "I thought I'll never get to see you again." Kurama gazed into Naruto's eyes and spoke while gently wiping away the tears. "There's no way I'll let anyone separate us, Kit. You're the first person who befriended me and to trust in me as I have of you. There's no way I'll ever leave your side, and besides, need I remind you that your mates are waiting for you to return so they could mate with you and give birth to your kids." He grinned at the end and a reddened face. He was feeling angry, slightly perverted, and ashamed. Angry that Kurama would say such a thing to him in front of strangers, embarrassed that he would say such things, and perverted thoughts of Sakura and Satsuki having to make love to each other. "Kurama, why would say those things, you perverted fox? I'm not ready to do stuff like that, and neither are Sakura and Satsuki." Naruto screamed at him. Kurama's smile got bigger. As Naruto blushed even more, he became even more irate. So you admit you want to mate with those two but you are just not ready yet? The two women were laughing at Naruto's bad luck. Naruto screamed as he lunged at Kurama, but Kurama was too quick for him. That's it, come here you stupid pervert. Everyone in the room chuckled at the antics of Kurama and Naruto. Naruto tried to catch him by chasing him around the room, but all of a sudden his stomach gave out. He picked up the trash can and began to throw up once more. Kurama rushed to his side and gave his face a gentle nuzzle. Kurama was given a light tap on the head after saying, "I'm so sorry, kid, I never should have made you run like that." When he noticed Naruto grinning, he spoke. "It's not your fault, Kurama. I know you would never do anything to hurt me or my precious people. Besides, I've been feeling a little dizzy since I woke up, which also caused to remember what happened to me." His grin turned into a frown. Kurama was snarling. He wanted to kill those who had hurt him because he remembered what Naruto had gone through. Kurama yelled, "I swear if I see that one-eyed bastard or those fools who attacked you ever again, I'll rip him and those fools to shreds." His intense desire to kill was having a negative impact on everyone in the room. Naruto picked up the small fox and gave him a gentle ear scratch. This not only made him feel better almost immediately, but it also eliminated any intention to kill. Naruto was still scratching behind his ears, and Kurama was purring. The two women in the room thought it was adorable. Naruto looked around after calming Kurama down and noticed that everyone who had come to see him was still present. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly as he flushed with shame. The curious Naruto said, "I apologize for wasting your time. My name is Naruto, and this is Kurama the Nine-Tailed Fox. If it's not too much trouble, may I ask who you guys are and where are we?" With a smile on his face, the doctor approached Naruto, picked him up gently, and put him back on his bed. Because of the rape, Naruto initially stiffened and was a little afraid, but he knew he would be safe when Kurama leapt on his lap after ruffling his hair. The doctor started the introduction. "Yes, well, my name Michael James Peterson. I'm the doctor in charge of the patients in the medical and emergency ward. The man next to me is Commander Stephen Williams. He is the one of the 3 high-ranking officers in charge of Time Dimension. Now the people with colorful clothing are known as the Power Rangers. Time Dimension. Each of them are given the specific colored wardrobe to be identified easily. The man in red is the leader and Red Ranger is Wesley Connors." He raised his hand. "Hey there little buddy, you call me Wes." The tall blonde was then indicated by him. The Blue Ranger Lucas Anderson. "Nice to meet you, you can call me Luke." The Green Ranger Terrence Zabrian. "Cool name. Thanks, you can call me Trip and your name sounds cool to Naruto." Naruto nods in response. The blonde woman came next. She winked at him and said, "Hey there cutie, you can call me Katie." The Yellow Ranger Catherine Knight. Naruto reddened. Austin gave her a shove. Katie pouts and says, "Katie, stop making fun of the child. You're no fun, Luke." "A pleasure to meet you, young man, you can call me Jen." Anna. Finally the Pink Ranger Jennifer Watterson. She smiled sweetly. She resembled Sakura almost exactly. Jen gave him a quick hug and said, "I like your hair color, it really suits you." Nobody has ever made any remarks about her hair. The lack of air was making Naruto turn blue. "Aw, thank you Naruto, you're such a sweetheart." Wes approached them and swiftly separated them as he tried to take in as much air as he could. Naruto exclaimed, "OMG, I'm so sorry Naruto. Air, oh how I miss thee." Then the commander approached him. Naruto nodded, turned to Kurama, who was dozing off on his bed, and said, "Naruto, I know you and your fox friend have a lot of questions lately, but right now you need your rest. I promise we'll get your answers tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow." Commander Steven smiled and consented to let Kurama sleep close to Naruto, saying, "Is it okay if Kurama stays here with me? I would feel better knowing that he'll stay out of trouble and keep me company." Naruto expressed gratitude. Katie asked in a naive tone that made Naruto shudder, "Can I stay with the little cutie?" "No, you can't, young lady. You still have to pay for the last incident involving the ambassadors of the 5th Dimension's daughter." Katie sulks. The little brat had it coming. She would have caused another war between Dimensions 5, 6 and 13 and almost created a time anomaly in the 9th Dimension. Steven exhaled. This had no end in sight. You will always lose when you confront Katie about something. "Well, get some rest and we'll see you tomorrow." Naruto, come on Katie, before you make me drag you out by your foot again. Luke cautioned her. Before everyone left the room, she said, "Fine, you win Luke, I'll come quietly by Naruto." Naruto fell into slumber, awaiting the next phase of his journey to begin. 2 years of time skipped. The alarms were blaring frantically. Everyone was fully engaged in combat. Stephen Williams, the Supreme Commander, arrived to evaluate the current situation. "Alright, listen up, I want a full-scale report on what's going on, where it's taking place and how big the threat level is. Do you understand?" he asked. "Sir, yes sir." One of the staff members' eyes widened when he saw where they were going. "Sir, reports of the threat level are level 3 and 5. Sir, Three-dimensional gateways have been opened and an army of at least 300 Greetox's drones along with 6 level 5 TDMMs have entered. Steven's eyes widened as he said, "Shit sir, they're heading for Dimension 17, Sector 44 and Quadrant 31 inches." After the incident, he and all the Time Dimension officers had vowed to defend that location with their lives. Their top priority has been and continues to be the very location they initially wanted nothing to do with. The village hidden in the leaves was the name of it. Then Luke, Trip, and Katie burst through the doors, saying, "Get the Megazords online and emergency teams as well as teams Alpha, Beta, and Omega ready to move now and have the Rangers in here ASAP." Luke said, "Commander, what's going on?" He handed them the report. After glaring at them when they read it, their eyes widened. "Well, what are you waiting for? This is an Omega-level threat. Get Wes and Jen and get moving if you want to keep your promise to him." They stood up and gave a salute. "Sir, yes sir." To stop the hidden leaf from being destroyed, they hastily departed to gather their teammates. "Naruto, don't worry. We will not allow them to ruin your family's memories." Sakura and Satsuki, Katie reflected. "Naruto, we'll keep them safe," Lucas vowed. "I swear it on my life. Nothing is going to hurt them, not while we're here," Trip vowed to himself. Headquarters in the center of Time Dimension, Wes and Jen were honoring the Rangers and fallen heroes who so bravely sacrificed their lives to serve as Time Dimension Rangers and protect them. However, there was one person who had the guts to give his life to stop time and dimensions from being destroyed throughout the space-time continuum. After the most terrifying battle in history, a statue was erected in his honor. Wes remembered that cursed day and clenched his fists. He was too helpless to stop him from giving his life to protect the people he cared about. Naruto was the individual in question. Flashback: a lifeless Naruto was in Wes's grasp. He had cuts, bruises, ripped muscles, multiple broken bones, and was covered in his own blood. Wes made an effort to seek assistance and ensured that he had survived long enough for them to treat him. As he held Kurama's lifeless body near to his own, Naruto simply grinned and said, "Damn it, Naruto. Why did you do that? Your family, Sakura, and Satsuki are waiting for you. Naruto, waiting for your return. Hey, stay with me, Naruto. Alright, you're going to make it, Naruto. Just hang in there. Don't you dare give up on me." Naruto coughed up more blood and said, "Yeah, it's okay, Wes. Yeah, I can already see the Shimigami coming. Kaga cough. And my time is just about done." Wes wasn't persuaded. He was committed to saving Naruto by any means necessary, even if that meant confronting the Death Reaper herself. "Wes, thank you, all of you. I made new friends and kept my family, Sakura and Satsuki, safe. They're my Kaga cough. Entire world. I would, Kaga cough, gladly die protecting them. It's the Kaga cough way of the shinobi, and I will die because it's done and no one can undo the Shimigami blood seal. Besides, Kaga cough, aren't older brothers supposed to protect their younger siblings and family?" Naruto grinned and gave Wes a letter and a scroll. Wes's eyes widened as he turned to face Lady Shimigami, a stunning woman with red eyes, red lips, long silver white hair, a slender body, and D-cup breasts. "Please give these to Sakura and Satsuki, the scroll to Grandpa Hiruzen, and the letter to Lord Enma. Consider Kaga cough. Consider this my last wish." Kaga coughs. "It seems she's here." A black kimono with red accents was on her. She held a beaded necklace in her left hand and a sword in her right. Naruto stopped Wes just as he was about to attack. As the Shimigami dons her demon mask, Naruto held out his hand with what little strength he had left and said, "It's okay, Wes. I knew this would happen. I'm not afraid to die, not afraid to protect those I, Kaga cough, love and those I care about. Please protect my family before Lady Shimigami pulls mine and Kurama's soul away. Keep them safe from Kaga cough danger, and Danzo also. I'd like you to bury me and Kurama together back in the hidden Kaga cough Leaf Village. I'd like you to promise me you'll protect them." Tears began to fall down Wes's cheeks as he gazed into those sapphire blues. He took a firm hold of the young boy's hand. Naruto muttered a "thank you" as the Reaper of Souls used her sword to draw out and seal the souls of Kurama and Naruto. "I promise I'll protect them with my life until the end as a friend and Time Dimension Ranger." She took off her mask and vanished. He screamed into the sky above, where onlookers watched as the lifeless bodies of Naruto and Kurama lay there in arms. Naruto. The flashback, end. Lucas called out to Wes, who jolted out of his reverie. He turned to see Luke, Trip, and Katie with their morphers engaged in a report in hand. The Time Dimension morphers had an oval cover glass at the edge and were designed as silver wrist watches. There are 4 buttons on it, 3 in the middle and 1 on the left side of the morpher. "Hey guys, do we have a mission or something?" Wes responded. They knew what the report meant when they gave it to him. He turned to his team after closing it and taking one last look at the statue. He was only halfway through when Wes interrupted, saying, "Wes, the Greetoxes have opened." I already know Luke thanks to the report you gave me. Now then let's go save Naruto's last precious memory. Ready. As he raised his morpher, soon everyone else did the same. They were surrounded by a flash of red, blue, green, yellow, and pink light that read, "Ready. Time dimension engage." The Power Rangers' time dimension was fully transformed and prepared for combat when the light faded. Wes was dressed entirely in red spandex, with a red upside-down triangle in the center and a white chest plate that reached his shoulders and torso. 2 silver gauntlets that reached his elbows and the morpher in the right gauntlet were on his arms, along with red boots with silver patterns on the uppers and a black waist belt bearing the time dimension insignia. His helmet has the same upside-down triangle in the middle and is colored red, black, and silver. The helmet and chest piece of the others had the same design but different colors. Lucas had a half-inverted hexagon on his helmet and chest, and he was blue. Jen's was pink with a heart design, Katie's was yellow with a curvy rectangle, and Tripp's was green with a diamond-like pattern. Wearing their clothes, they stood tall and proud. Time Dimension Red Ranger. Wes posed giving a pause. Luke called out, "Time Dimension Blue Ranger." Tripp shouted, "Time Dimension Green Ranger." With a pause Katie said, "Time Dimension Yellow Ranger." Jen yelled, "Time Dimension Pink Ranger." Defenders of Space, Time and Dimensions Power Rangers Time Dimension. They screamed. Wes said, turning to his group. "All right guys, I know most of want nothing more than to see those who tortured Naruto suffer, but we promised we would protect them with our lives as friends and rangers, so let's do this." He extended his hand. They each held out their hands and said, "For Naruto." As they slammed it down, Wes said, "Let's go." They departed to protect the Hidden Leaf Village. For Naruto.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.